Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything means recognizing that the world operates without any inherent obligation to provide for your needs, wants, or expectations. This harsh reality strikes at the core of human entitlement and forces us to confront our deepest assumptions about how life should work. From childhood, many people develop an unconscious belief that good behavior, hard work, or simply existing should guarantee certain rewards or treatment from others. We expect fairness from employers, loyalty from friends, love from family, and basic decency from strangers. When these expectations aren't met, disappointment and bitterness often follow. Understanding that nobody owes you anything liberates you from the prison of expectation. Your parents didn't owe you a perfect childhood. Your employer doesn't owe you a promotion simply because you've been there longest. Society doesn't owe you recognition for your talents. Friends don't owe you their time or emotional support just because you've provided it to them. This realization shifts your entire approach to life. Instead of waiting for what you believe you deserve, you begin taking full responsibility for creating the life you want. You stop feeling victimized when others don't meet your expectations because you never had those expectations in the first place. The freedom in this truth is profound. When you stop expecting the world to serve you, you start serving yourself. You become the architect of your own success, happiness, and fulfillment. Every kindness received becomes a gift rather than an obligation fulfilled. Every opportunity becomes something to be grateful for rather than something owed. Hard work doesn't guarantee success. Hard work doesn't guarantee success means accepting that effort alone is insufficient to achieve your desired outcomes. This brutal truth shatters the comforting mythology that dedication and persistence automatically lead to reward. Society perpetuates the dangerous illusion that hard work is the primary determinant of success. We tell ourselves that if we just work harder, stay longer, sacrifice more, we will inevitably reach our goals. This belief creates a cruel trap where people exhaust themselves chasing dreams that may never materialize, regardless of their effort. The reality is far more complex. Success depends on timing, luck, market conditions, networking, natural talent, access to resources, and countless variables beyond your control. You can work 18-hour days and still watch someone with better connections surpass you effortlessly. You can perfect your craft for decades and never gain recognition while others achieve fame overnight. This doesn't mean hard work is worthless. It remains essential for improvement and creates opportunities that wouldn't exist otherwise. But hard work must be combined with strategic thinking, adaptability, and realistic expectations. Working smart often trumps working hard. Understanding this truth prevents the devastating disappointment that comes from believing effort guarantees results. It helps you develop resilience when setbacks occur because you understand that failure doesn't necessarily reflect inadequate effort. You begin focusing on what you can control while accepting what you cannot. This knowledge also teaches you to celebrate effort itself rather than only celebrating outcomes. The growth, skills, and character developed through hard work have intrinsic value, regardless of external recognition or material success. Most people care more about themselves than you. Most people care more about themselves than you means recognizing that self-interest naturally dominates human behavior, regardless of how much others might like or respect you. This isn't a cynical judgment but a fundamental truth about human psychology and survival instincts. Everyone carries their own burden of problems, fears, ambitions, and responsibilities. They wake up thinking about their mortgage, their relationships, their health, their dreams. Your concerns, while valid and important to you, occupy minimal space in their mental landscape. This isn't malice or selfishness in the negative sense. It's simply how humans are wired to function and survive. People will genuinely care about you within the context of how you fit into their lives. A friend cares about you because your friendship enriches their experience. A partner cares because you fulfill emotional and practical needs. A boss cares because you contribute to their success. This doesn't diminish the authenticity of their care, but it places it in proper perspective. Understanding this prevents you from taking things personally when others don't prioritize your needs. When someone cancels plans, forgets your birthday, or makes decisions that inconvenience you, it's rarely about you specifically. They're simply managing their own complex life circumstances. This knowledge frees you from seeking validation and approval from others. Instead of expecting people to center their lives around your well-being, you learn to create your own support systems and find internal sources of motivation and happiness. Life isn't fair and never will be. Life isn't fair and never will be means abandoning the childish expectation that the universe operates according to principles of justice, merit, or equal distribution of fortune. Fairness is a human concept that doesn't exist in nature or reality. Some people are born into wealth while others face poverty. Some possess natural talents while others struggle with basic abilities. Some experience loving families while others endure abuse. Some live long healthy lives while others face illness and early death. These disparities aren't the result of cosmic justice or karma. They're random distributions of circumstances, genetics, and chance. The belief that life should be fair creates perpetual frustration and victimhood. When bad things happen to good people, or when undeserving individuals succeed, you waste energy feeling outraged by the perceived injustice. This outrage accomplishes nothing except increasing your own suffering. Accepting life's inherent unfairness doesn't mean becoming passive or cynical. Instead, it means focusing your energy on working within reality rather than fighting against it. You stop expecting the universe to balance the scales and start taking responsibility for creating whatever balance you can in your own existence. This acceptance brings profound peace. You stop comparing your struggles to others' apparent ease. You stop feeling entitled to outcomes based on your efforts or character. You begin appreciating whatever good fortune you experience while building resilience for inevitable hardships. Understanding unfairness also cultivates compassion. When you realize that everyone faces undeserved challenges, you become more empathetic toward others' struggles and less judgmental about their circumstances. You can do everything right and still fail. You can do everything right and still fail means accepting that perfect execution doesn't guarantee desired outcomes. This truth challenges the fundamental belief that following rules, making good decisions, and maintaining high standards will protect you from failure and disappointment. You can save money responsibly and still lose it in an economic crash. You can maintain perfect health habits and still develop cancer. You can be a devoted spouse and still face divorce. You can raise children with love and guidance and still watch them make destructive choices. You can build a business with careful planning and still see it collapse due to market forces beyond your control. This reality feels deeply unfair because it violates our sense of cause and effect. We want to believe that good choices lead to good outcomes, that preparation prevents problems, that virtue is rewarded. When this proves false, it can create existential crisis and paralyzing fear about making any decisions at all. However, understanding this truth actually liberates you from perfectionism and analysis paralysis. Since no amount of preparation can guarantee success, you can stop obsessing over making perfect choices and instead focus on making reasonable ones. You can act despite uncertainty because you understand that certainty was never available anyway. This knowledge also prevents the crushing self-blame that follows unexpected failures. When things go wrong despite your best efforts, you understand that this doesn't reflect personal inadequacy or poor judgment. Sometimes circumstances simply align against you regardless of your choices. Time is the only resource you can't replace. Time is the only resource you can't replace means understanding that every moment spent is gone forever. Unlike money, health, or relationships, time moves in one direction only. You cannot earn back yesterday. You cannot save today for tomorrow. You cannot borrow from future moments. People treat time carelessly because it feels unlimited when you are young. Hours seem endless. Days stretch before you. Years feel like forever. But time accelerates as you age. Suddenly decades have passed. Dreams remain unfulfilled. Important conversations never happened. Every choice you make is really a choice about time. When you say yes to one thing, you say no to everything else. When you spend an hour watching television, that hour cannot be used for learning. When you postpone a difficult conversation, that opportunity may never return. Time scarcity makes every moment precious. The phone call to your aging parent. The walk in nature. The quiet evening with your partner. These experiences become treasures because you understand they are limited. Smart people guard their time fiercely. They say no to requests that drain energy without purpose. They prioritize activities that align with their values. They stop waiting for perfect conditions to pursue their dreams. Understanding time's unique nature changes everything. You become more present. You waste less energy on meaningless activities. You invest in relationships and experiences that matter. You realize that time poverty is worse than financial poverty because lost money can be recovered but lost time cannot. Not everyone you love will love you back. Not everyone you love will love you back means accepting that love does not work like a transaction. Your feelings do not create automatic responses in others. You cannot force someone to care about you through kindness, sacrifice, or devotion. Love operates by mysterious rules that have nothing to do with fairness or logic. You might love someone completely while they remain indifferent. They might choose someone else who treats them poorly. Your pure intentions and genuine care make no difference to their heart. This truth hurts because it challenges the belief that good people deserve good things. You think that loving someone deeply should make them love you in return. You believe that being loyal, supportive, and caring should guarantee reciprocal feelings. But love does not follow these rules. People fall in love based on chemistry, timing, shared experiences, and factors beyond anyone's control. Someone might appreciate you, respect you, and enjoy your company without feeling romantic love. This says nothing about your worth as a person. Understanding this reality prevents desperate behaviors that often destroy relationships completely. You stop trying to prove your value through excessive giving. You stop changing yourself to match someone else's preferences. You stop begging for affection that cannot be forced. This knowledge also teaches you to treasure mutual love when it happens. Two people choosing to love each other is rare and special. It becomes a gift to celebrate rather than something you expect or demand from everyone you care about. Money won't solve your deepest problems. Money won't solve your deepest problems means recognizing that wealth cannot fix the struggles that define human existence. Financial security helps with practical matters but fails to eliminate depression, loneliness, or meaninglessness. Society teaches that money equals happiness. People believe more income will reduce stress, improve relationships, and create satisfaction. They sacrifice health and family time chasing wealth they think will solve everything. But this belief is largely false. Money solves money problems only. It pays for housing, food, healthcare, and comfort. It provides security and opportunities. But it cannot heal emotional wounds from childhood. It cannot create genuine friendships or loving relationships. It cannot provide purpose or eliminate the fear of death. Wealthy people experience divorce, addiction, depression, and suicide at significant rates. This proves that financial success does not guarantee mental health or life satisfaction. The deepest human problems require internal work that money cannot purchase. The most important solutions involve personal growth, self-awareness, and authentic connections with others. These require time, vulnerability, and courage. They demand facing difficult truths about yourself and your relationships. No amount of money can shortcut this process. Understanding money's limitations prevents disappointment when financial success fails to deliver promised happiness. It redirects energy toward addressing real problems instead of assuming they will disappear with the next raise or windfall. Money becomes a useful tool rather than a magical cure for human suffering. Looks fade, but character stays. Looks fade, but character stays means understanding that physical appearance inevitably deteriorates while inner qualities can strengthen throughout your entire life. Beauty is temporary, but integrity, kindness, and wisdom become more valuable with age. Everyone's physical appearance changes over time. Youth disappears. Skin wrinkles. Hair turns gray or falls out. Bodies become less firm and energetic. No amount of exercise, surgery, or expensive treatments can stop this natural process completely. People who build their identity around physical attractiveness face inevitable crisis as their looks diminish. They invested everything in something temporary and have little foundation left when beauty fades. Their relationships often suffered because they chose partners based on superficial attraction rather than deeper compatibility. Character develops differently. Honesty can deepen with experience. Compassion can grow through understanding others' struggles. Resilience can strengthen after surviving difficult times. Wisdom can accumulate through learning from mistakes and successes. These inner qualities become more attractive and valuable as time passes. People respect individuals with strong character regardless of their physical appearance. Deep relationships form around shared values, mutual respect, and emotional connection rather than superficial features. Smart people invest more energy in developing character than maintaining appearance. They focus on becoming honest, reliable, compassionate, and interesting. They choose relationships based on character compatibility rather than physical attraction alone. This approach creates lasting satisfaction because character-based relationships and self-worth improve with age instead of declining like appearance-based foundations. Comfort zones destroy ambition. Comfort zones destroy ambition means recognizing that safety and familiarity gradually eliminate the drive needed for growth and achievement. The very security that protects you from discomfort becomes the prison that prevents reaching your potential. Comfort zones feel good because they eliminate uncertainty and challenge. Within familiar boundaries, you know what to expect and how to perform. This predictability reduces anxiety and stress. But it also stops growth completely. Staying comfortable creates stagnation in every area of life. Your skills stop developing because they are never challenged. Your confidence weakens because you avoid situations requiring courage. Your creativity disappears because you use the same solutions repeatedly. Ambition requires discomfort. It demands risking failure, facing criticism, and learning new skills. These experiences feel threatening to someone used to safety. It becomes easy to make excuses for avoiding challenges rather than pursuing difficult goals. The destruction happens slowly and subtly. Each day spent avoiding challenges makes the next challenge seem more frightening. Each opportunity declined makes future opportunities feel less achievable. Each compromise with mediocrity makes excellence seem less important. Dreams begin shrinking to match current circumstances instead of expanding toward true potential. You start believing that your current situation is all you deserve or can handle. Ambition dies not from one big failure but from 1,000 small retreats into safety. Breaking free requires conscious choice and tolerance for temporary discomfort. It means choosing growth over security and potential over certainty. Friends will drift apart no matter how close. Friends will drift apart no matter how close means accepting that even the strongest friendships naturally change and often end as people grow in different directions. Distance, time, and life circumstances gradually separate people who once felt inseparable. Childhood friends seem permanent when you are young. You make promises to stay close forever. You cannot imagine life without these people who understand you completely. But life moves everyone in different directions at different speeds. People change careers, move to new cities, get married, have children, and develop new interests. These changes create natural distance even when both people try to maintain the friendship. Phone calls become less frequent. Visits require more planning. Shared experiences become memories instead of ongoing activities. Sometimes friends drift apart because they grow into different people with incompatible values or lifestyles. The person you loved at 20 might become someone you barely recognize at 40. Their priorities, beliefs, and behavior might change in ways that no longer align with yours. This reality feels painful because it challenges the belief that love and good intentions can overcome any obstacle. You think that caring deeply about someone should be enough to maintain the relationship forever. But friendship requires ongoing effort from both people, and life often makes that effort impossible. Understanding this truth helps you appreciate current friendships more deeply. Instead of taking them for granted, you recognize their temporary nature and invest more energy in maintaining them. You also accept endings without feeling betrayed or abandoned when natural drift occurs. Your parents won't be here forever. Your parents won't be here forever means confronting the inevitable reality that the people who raised you will eventually die, leaving you to navigate life without their presence, guidance, or support. Young people often take their parents for granted because they seem permanent and indestructible. Mom and dad have always been there to provide advice, help with problems, or simply offer comfort through their presence. It feels impossible to imagine a world without them. But parents age faster than you realize. Their hair turns gray. Their energy decreases. Their health begins failing. One day you notice they move more slowly or forget things more often. The strong people who once seemed capable of handling anything become fragile and dependent. This reality creates urgency around unfinished emotional business. Important conversations that you keep postponing may never happen. Forgiveness you plan to offer someday might come too late. Appreciation you assume they already know might remain unexpressed. Many people realize too late that they spent years taking their parents for granted or focusing on old grievances instead of building positive memories. They wish they had asked more questions about family history, shared more about their own lives, or simply spent more quality time together. Understanding this truth changes how you interact with aging parents. You become more patient with their limitations and repetitive stories. You prioritize visits and phone calls. You express gratitude and affection more openly. You recognize that every interaction might be among your last opportunities to connect with the people who shaped your early life. You'll be forgotten in a few generations. You'll be forgotten in a few generations means accepting that your name, achievements, and individual existence will fade completely from human memory within approximately 100 years after your death. This truth challenges the human desire for immortality and lasting significance. People want to believe their lives matter permanently. They hope their children will tell stories about them to their grandchildren. They assume their accomplishments will be remembered and celebrated long after they are gone. But memory fades quickly across generations. Your great-grandchildren will likely know nothing about your personality, struggles, dreams, or daily life. They might not even know your name or what you looked like. Your jokes, wisdom, and unique quirks will disappear completely from family knowledge. Even people who achieve fame or make important contributions are usually forgotten within a few generations. History remembers only a tiny fraction of the billions of people who have lived. Most presidents, inventors, artists, and leaders become obscure names that nobody recognizes. This reality can feel depressing because it suggests that nothing you do has lasting meaning. But it can also be liberating. If you will be forgotten anyway, you might as well live according to your own values rather than trying to impress others or create a legacy. Understanding impermanence helps you focus on present experiences rather than future recognition. You stop worrying about what people will think of you after death and start concentrating on how you want to experience life while you are alive. Meaning comes from the quality of your daily existence, not from being remembered. Good intentions don't erase bad outcomes. Good intentions don't erase bad outcomes means understanding that wanting to help or do the right thing does not eliminate the negative consequences of your actions. Results matter more than motivations when measuring the actual impact of your behavior. People often believe that good intentions should excuse poor results. They think that meaning well should protect them from criticism or responsibility when things go wrong. They expect others to focus on their pure motives rather than the damage their actions caused. But good intentions cannot undo harm. If you give bad advice that ruins someone's career, your desire to help does not restore their job. If you make a mistake that costs money, your good intentions do not pay the bills. If you hurt someone's feelings while trying to be honest, your motives do not heal their pain. The world operates based on results, not intentions. Other people experience the consequences of your actions regardless of what you meant to accomplish. They feel the actual impact rather than your internal motivations. This reality requires taking full responsibility for outcomes even when your intentions were pure. It means apologizing for results rather than defending your motives. It demands learning from mistakes and changing your approach rather than assuming good intentions are sufficient. Understanding this truth makes you more careful about your actions. You consider potential consequences before acting rather than assuming good intentions will protect everyone involved. You focus on developing competence and wisdom rather than relying solely on goodwill. You measure success by actual results rather than by how much you cared. People judge you on results, not effort. People judge you on results, not effort means recognizing that others evaluate your performance based on what you achieve rather than how hard you work to achieve it. The world rewards outcomes, not the struggle behind them. This truth contradicts childhood lessons about effort being more important than results. Teachers and parents often praise children for trying hard even when they fail. This creates the illusion that adults will also value your work ethic over your actual accomplishments. But professional and social environments operate differently. Your boss cares whether projects are completed successfully, not how many hours you spent struggling. Customers judge businesses by the quality of products and services, not by how difficult they were to create. Friends appreciate reliability and competence, not explanations about your good intentions. People have limited time and energy to investigate the effort behind every outcome. They see only the final result and make quick judgments based on that information. A well-prepared presentation looks effortless to the audience even if it required weeks of work. A poorly executed project appears incompetent regardless of the challenges you faced. This reality demands focusing on effectiveness rather than just effort. Working harder is not always better than working smarter. Improving your skills and methods often matters more than increasing your hours. Learning to produce better results with less visible struggle becomes more valuable than dramatic displays of effort. Understanding this principle helps you allocate energy more wisely. You invest in developing competence that produces consistent results rather than hoping others will appreciate your hard work when outcomes disappoint them. No one is thinking about you as much as you think. No one is thinking about you as much as you think means understanding that other people spend very little time focused on your actions, appearance, or mistakes. While you obsess over how others perceive you, they are usually thinking about their own problems and concerns. This truth strikes at the heart of social anxiety and self-consciousness. You worry constantly about what others think when you make a mistake, wear the wrong outfit, or say something embarrassing. You imagine that people remember your failures and judge you harshly for every imperfection. But everyone else is dealing with their own struggles. They worry about their mortgage payments, relationship problems, health issues, and career challenges. Your awkward moment at the meeting barely registers in their memory. Your bad hair day goes completely unnoticed. Your social mistakes are forgotten within hours or days. People are fundamentally self-centered because survival requires focusing on their own needs first. They notice you only when your actions directly affect their lives. Otherwise, you exist in the background of their attention while they concentrate on their own experiences. Understanding this reality is deeply liberating. It frees you from the exhausting burden of trying to manage everyone's opinion of you. You can take risks, make mistakes, and express yourself authentically without worrying about constant judgment from others. This knowledge also reduces social anxiety significantly. When you realize that most people are not paying close attention to your behavior, you can relax and focus on your own goals rather than performing for an imaginary audience that does not actually exist. You're not as special as you were told as a child. You're not as special as you were told as a child means accepting that despite loving messages from parents and teachers, you are not uniquely gifted, destined for greatness, or entitled to special treatment from the world. Childhood involves constant reassurance about your exceptional qualities. Parents call you brilliant, talented, and capable of achieving anything you want. Teachers praise your potential and encourage big dreams. This creates the comfortable illusion that you possess rare gifts that guarantee future success and recognition. But millions of children receive identical messages from their loving parents. Everyone grows up hearing that they are special, smart, and destined for greatness. This means that being told you are exceptional is actually completely ordinary and common. Reality operates by different rules than parental love. The world contains billions of people, many of whom are genuinely more talented, intelligent, hardworking, or creative than you are. Your parents' belief in your specialness does not change this mathematical reality. Understanding your ordinariness is actually liberating rather than depressing. It removes the pressure to live up to impossible expectations. You can pursue goals based on genuine interest rather than feeling obligated to achieve extraordinary things. You can find satisfaction in normal accomplishments rather than feeling disappointed by anything less than greatness. This truth also promotes realistic planning and effort. Instead of assuming your natural gifts will carry you to success, you focus on developing skills and working consistently toward achievable goals. You compete based on effort and strategy rather than expecting the world to recognize your inherent specialness. Most people only want you when you're useful. Most people only want you when you're useful means recognizing that many relationships exist primarily because you provide some benefit, service, or value to the other person. When your usefulness ends, their interest in maintaining the relationship often disappears as well. This harsh reality challenges romantic notions about unconditional friendship and pure human connection. You want to believe that people care about you for who you are rather than what you can do for them. You hope that relationships are based on genuine affection rather than practical benefits. But many connections are fundamentally transactional. Colleagues maintain friendships while you work together but rarely stay in touch after job changes. Neighbors are friendly when they might need favors but become distant when you cannot help them. Some family members only call when they want money, advice, or assistance. Professional relationships make this pattern obvious. Clients are interested in your services, not your personality. Employers value your productivity, not your dreams. Business partners care about mutual profit, not emotional connection. Understanding this truth helps you evaluate relationships more realistically. You can identify which connections are genuinely mutual versus those that exist only for your benefit to others. You stop feeling hurt when utilitarian relationships end after your usefulness expires. This knowledge also teaches you to develop skills, resources, and capabilities that create ongoing value for others. Being useful is not inherently bad if you choose relationships where the exchange feels fair and rewarding rather than exploitative. You learn to treasure the rare relationships where people love you regardless of what you can provide. Love alone won't sustain a relationship. Love alone won't sustain a relationship means understanding that emotional connection, while necessary, is insufficient to overcome fundamental incompatibilities, poor communication, or mismatched life goals. Many relationships fail despite genuine love between two people. Society promotes the myth that love conquers all obstacles. Movies and songs suggest that if two people truly care about each other, they can overcome any problem. This creates unrealistic expectations that love should automatically solve relationship difficulties. But love cannot fix every issue. It cannot resolve conflicts between someone who wants children and someone who does not. It cannot bridge gaps between different religious beliefs, financial values, or life priorities. It cannot compensate for poor communication skills or emotional immaturity. Relationships require compatibility, shared goals, mutual respect, effective communication, and ongoing effort from both people. Love provides motivation for working through problems, but it does not eliminate the need for practical solutions and behavioral changes. Many people stay in dysfunctional relationships believing that love should be enough. They think that caring deeply about someone means tolerating poor treatment, fundamental incompatibilities, or repeated harmful behaviors. This leads to years of frustration and disappointment. Understanding love's limitations helps you make better relationship decisions. You can appreciate emotional connection while also evaluating practical compatibility. You can recognize when love exists but the relationship structure is unsustainable. This knowledge also prevents taking love for granted in functional relationships. You understand that maintaining a healthy partnership requires ongoing attention to communication, compatibility, and mutual growth rather than assuming love will automatically preserve the connection. Happiness is temporary. So is sadness. Happiness is temporary. So is sadness means accepting that all emotional states are fleeting experiences that naturally change over time. Neither joy nor suffering lasts permanently, regardless of how intense or overwhelming they feel in the moment. People often assume that current emotional states will continue indefinitely. When feeling happy, you believe the good times will last forever. When experiencing sadness, you cannot imagine ever feeling better again. Both assumptions are incorrect. Emotions operate in cycles and waves. Happiness peaks and then gradually fades as you adapt to positive circumstances. Sadness feels overwhelming initially but slowly loses intensity as time passes and situations change. The human mind cannot maintain any single emotional state permanently. This truth provides comfort during difficult periods. Depression, grief, anxiety, and disappointment feel unbearable when you are experiencing them, but they will naturally diminish over time. The pain that seems infinite today will become manageable next month and may be barely noticeable next year. Understanding impermanence also prevents taking happiness for granted. Instead of assuming good feelings will continue automatically, you learn to appreciate and savor positive experiences while they last. You become more present during joyful moments rather than expecting them to be permanent. This knowledge promotes emotional resilience. You can endure sadness more easily knowing it will pass. You can enjoy happiness more fully knowing it is precious and temporary. You stop making major life decisions based solely on current emotions since you understand they will change. The wisdom lies in accepting both states as natural parts of human experience rather than fighting against their temporary nature. Discipline beats motivation. Discipline beats motivation means understanding that consistent daily actions matter more than temporary bursts of enthusiasm. Motivation feels exciting but disappears quickly, while discipline creates lasting results through regular practice regardless of how you feel. Motivation is an emotion that comes and goes unpredictably. You feel inspired after watching a movie, reading a book, or hearing a speech. You make ambitious plans and start new projects with tremendous energy. But this excitement fades within days or weeks when reality sets in. Discipline operates differently. It means doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. You go to the gym on days when you would rather stay home. You practice skills even when progress feels slow. You maintain healthy habits during stressful periods when motivation completely disappears. Successful people understand this difference completely. They build systems and routines that work automatically instead of depending on feeling motivated. They know that most important tasks feel boring or difficult, which means motivation will rarely help with the things that matter most. Discipline develops gradually through small consistent actions. You start by keeping tiny promises to yourself. You build trust in your ability to follow through on commitments. Over time, disciplined behavior becomes automatic and requires less mental energy. The results speak clearly. Disciplined people achieve goals that motivated people only talk about. They develop skills that motivated people abandon after initial enthusiasm fades. They create the life changes that motivated people dream about but never implement consistently. Understanding this truth helps you stop waiting for inspiration and start building habits that produce results regardless of your emotional state. Your health can vanish overnight. Your health can vanish overnight means accepting that physical and mental well-being can disappear suddenly through accidents, illness, or genetic conditions, regardless of how careful you have been with diet, exercise, or healthy living. Young healthy people often assume their bodies will continue functioning normally for decades. You feel strong and energetic today, so you expect to feel the same way tomorrow and next year. This creates dangerous complacency about health and postponement of important life experiences. But health operates unpredictably. Heart attacks strike people who exercise regularly. Cancer develops in individuals who eat perfectly and avoid all risk factors. Accidents cause permanent disabilities in careful people who follow every safety rule. Mental health conditions can emerge suddenly even in people with no previous symptoms. Medical emergencies change everything instantly. Yesterday you were planning vacations and career moves. Today you are facing surgery, treatments, or permanent limitations. Your priorities shift completely when survival becomes uncertain. Understanding health's fragility creates urgency about living fully while you can. Instead of postponing important experiences until retirement, you pursue them now while your body allows it. You express love more openly because tomorrow is not guaranteed. This knowledge also promotes gratitude for current abilities. Walking without pain, thinking clearly, and sleeping peacefully become appreciated gifts rather than expected conditions. Every day of good health becomes precious rather than ordinary. The truth demands balancing reasonable health precautions with acceptance that some outcomes remain beyond your control. You can make good choices while recognizing that genetics, accidents, and random illness might override your best efforts anyway. Success attracts envy as much as admiration. Success attracts envy as much as admiration means understanding that achievements which you expect to bring universal praise will also generate resentment, criticism, and attempts to diminish your accomplishments from people who feel threatened by your progress. You naturally assume that success will make others happy for you. Friends and family should celebrate your achievements and feel proud of your growth. Colleagues should respect your accomplishments and offer congratulations for your hard work paying off. But success triggers complex emotions in others. Some people feel inadequate when they compare their struggles to your achievements. Others become resentful because your success highlights their own lack of progress. Many people prefer when everyone around them remains at similar levels rather than watching someone pull ahead. Envy manifests in various destructive ways. People minimize your achievements by attributing them to luck rather than effort. They point out flaws or negative aspects of your success that you should worry about. They become distant or critical after previously being supportive and encouraging. This reality can feel shocking and painful, especially when envy comes from people you expected to celebrate with you. Success can actually damage relationships and create loneliness as others withdraw their support or become competitive rather than cooperative. Understanding this pattern helps you prepare emotionally for mixed reactions to your achievements. You can appreciate genuine support while not taking envious responses personally. You learn to find satisfaction in your own progress rather than depending entirely on external validation. The knowledge also teaches you to be genuinely happy for others' successes rather than letting envy damage your relationships when friends achieve their goals. Regret weighs more than failure. Regret weighs more than failure means understanding that the pain of not trying haunts you longer and more intensely than the pain of trying and failing. Missed opportunities create lasting emotional burden while failures provide learning experiences and closure. Failure hurts temporarily but offers valuable lessons. When you attempt something and it does not work, you gain information about what went wrong. You develop resilience from surviving disappointment. You often discover alternative paths or better opportunities through the process of failing. Regret operates differently. It involves endless wondering about what might have been if you had taken action. You imagine that the opportunity you avoided would have led to amazing outcomes. Your mind creates perfect scenarios where everything would have worked beautifully if you had just been brave enough to try. These imaginary scenarios become torture because they can never be tested against reality. The job you did not apply for becomes the perfect career in your mind. The person you did not ask out becomes your ideal partner. The business you did not start becomes wildly successful in your imagination. Regret accumulates over time while failure fades. You stop thinking about most of your failed attempts within months or years. But missed opportunities can haunt you for decades. Old people rarely regret things they tried that did not work. They regret chances they never took. Understanding this truth encourages taking calculated risks rather than playing it safe. It becomes better to fail at something important than to succeed at avoiding all challenges. You learn that temporary failure feels much better than permanent wondering about missed possibilities. Complaining changes nothing. Complaining changes nothing means recognizing that expressing dissatisfaction without taking action accomplishes nothing except wasting energy and creating negative emotions for yourself and others around you. People complain constantly about weather, politics, traffic, work conditions, relationships, and countless other circumstances. They seem to believe that voicing frustration will somehow improve their situation or make them feel better about problems they face. But complaining produces no positive results. Your boss does not change company policies because you grumble to coworkers. Traffic does not move faster because you express anger about construction delays. Politicians do not modify their behavior because you criticize them to friends who already agree with you. Complaining actually makes situations worse by focusing your attention on problems rather than solutions. It reinforces negative thinking patterns and creates victim mentality. It drains energy that could be used for productive action. It also annoys other people and damages relationships over time. The alternative to complaining is either accepting situations you cannot change or taking action to improve situations you can influence. Both approaches produce better results than endless expression of dissatisfaction. Acceptance brings peace when circumstances are beyond your control. You stop wasting mental energy fighting reality and redirect attention toward things you can actually influence. Action creates positive change when improvement is possible through your efforts. Understanding this truth helps you catch yourself before falling into complaint patterns. When you notice frustration building, you ask whether the situation can be changed through your actions. If yes, you make plans. If no, you work on accepting reality rather than fighting it through useless complaining. People die younger than they expect. People die younger than they expect means understanding that most individuals vastly overestimate how much time they have remaining, leading them to postpone important experiences and relationships until it becomes too late. Everyone assumes they will live to old age with plenty of time for future plans. You think retirement will bring freedom to travel and pursue hobbies. You believe you will have decades to repair damaged relationships or express important feelings. You postpone difficult conversations assuming countless opportunities remain ahead. But death arrives unpredictably at every age. Heart disease, cancer, accidents, and sudden illnesses claim people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s regularly. Many people die before reaching retirement age or seeing their children graduate college. The time you assume you have may not actually exist. This reality creates urgent need for living meaningfully today rather than waiting for someday. Important phone calls should happen now instead of next month. Travel plans should be made while your body can handle adventure. Love should be expressed openly rather than assumed to be understood. People on their deathbeds rarely regret working too little or saving too much money. They regret not spending enough time with family, not taking risks, not expressing feelings, and not pursuing dreams while they had health and opportunity. Understanding mortality's unpredictability changes daily priorities completely. You become more present in current experiences rather than constantly planning future happiness. You invest energy in relationships and activities that provide immediate meaning rather than postponing everything for retirement that may never come. The knowledge helps you appreciate ordinary moments and express gratitude for each healthy day rather than taking continued existence for granted. Your job will replace you within weeks if you leave. Your job will replace you within weeks if you leave means understanding that companies view employees as replaceable resources rather than irreplaceable individuals, regardless of how essential you feel to daily operations. Many people develop inflated sense of their importance at work. You handle critical projects, solve problems regularly, and maintain relationships with key clients. You assume the company would struggle significantly without your knowledge and expertise. This creates false security about job permanence. But businesses plan for employee turnover constantly. They document procedures, cross-train multiple people, and maintain networks of potential replacements. When someone leaves, companies quickly redistribute responsibilities, hire new people, or reorganize workflows to maintain productivity. Your absence might create temporary inconvenience, but operations continue normally within days or weeks. Clients adapt to new contact people. Projects move forward with different team members. Problems get solved by other employees who develop necessary skills quickly. This reality feels harsh because it challenges your sense of personal significance and job security. You want to believe that years of dedication and accumulated knowledge make you indispensable. But replaceable does not mean worthless. It simply means the business model cannot depend on any single individual. Understanding this truth helps you maintain realistic expectations about employer loyalty and job security. You focus on developing portable skills rather than assuming current positions will last forever. You build financial reserves for potential unemployment periods. The knowledge also prevents taking work stress too seriously. When projects feel overwhelming or workplace conflicts seem catastrophic, you remember that these issues will be handled by someone else if you are not there to manage them. No one cares about your excuses. No one cares about your excuses means understanding that explanations for failure, delays, or poor performance may seem reasonable to you but provide no value to people expecting results from your commitments. You naturally want to explain why things went wrong when you fail to meet expectations. Traffic made you late for the meeting. Your computer crashed before you could finish the report. Family problems distracted you from important deadlines. These explanations feel important because they show you had good reasons for poor outcomes. But other people focus on results rather than reasons. Your boss needs the project completed regardless of your technical difficulties. Clients want their orders delivered on schedule despite your supply chain problems. Friends expect you to show up when you make plans regardless of your personal challenges. Excuses often sound like attempts to avoid responsibility rather than genuine explanations. Even valid reasons for failure can seem like complaints or efforts to gain sympathy rather than acknowledgement of problems that need solving. People respect individuals who take full responsibility for outcomes and focus on solutions rather than explanations. When something goes wrong, they apologize quickly, fix the problem, and implement systems to prevent future issues. They save explanations for situations where understanding causes helps prevent recurrence. Understanding this truth changes how you respond to your own failures. Instead of crafting detailed explanations for poor results, you focus energy on correcting problems and rebuilding trust through improved performance. The knowledge also helps you communicate more effectively by leading with solutions rather than reasons when things go wrong. People appreciate accountability more than justification. Most people settle instead of chasing what they want. Most people settle instead of chasing what they want means recognizing that the majority of individuals abandon their dreams and accept mediocre situations rather than pursuing goals that require risk, effort, or temporary discomfort. People start with ambitious dreams about their careers, relationships, lifestyle, and personal achievements. They imagine exciting possibilities and make plans for pursuing meaningful goals. But when reality involves obstacles, setbacks, or sustained effort, most people gradually lower their expectations. Settling happens slowly through small compromises. You take a job that pays bills instead of pursuing your passion career. You stay in comfortable but unfulfilling relationships rather than being alone while finding better partners. You live in familiar places instead of moving somewhere that excites you. Fear drives most settling decisions. People worry about failing if they chase big dreams. They prefer guaranteed mediocrity over possible disappointment. They choose known problems over unknown challenges. This creates lives filled with regret about paths not taken. Society reinforces settling by calling it being realistic or responsible. Friends and family often discourage risk-taking and encourage safe choices. This peer pressure makes ambitious goals seem foolish rather than admirable. But settling creates subtle misery that builds over years. You wonder what might have happened if you had been braver. You feel trapped in situations that provide security but no excitement or growth. You watch other people achieve goals you abandoned. Understanding this pattern helps you recognize settling tendencies in your own decisions. You can choose calculated risks over guaranteed mediocrity. You can pursue meaningful goals even when others recommend playing it safe. You become part of the minority who chase what they want rather than accepting what feels secure. Life punishes procrastination. Life punishes procrastination means understanding that delays in taking important action create increasingly severe consequences as opportunities disappear, problems compound, and time runs out for addressing critical issues. Procrastination feels safe because it avoids immediate discomfort of difficult tasks. You postpone challenging conversations, important decisions, or demanding projects hoping they will become easier later. You assume tomorrow will bring more energy, better timing, or clearer solutions. But delays make most situations worse rather than better. Health problems become more serious without early treatment. Relationship issues grow more complicated when left unaddressed. Financial problems compound through interest and penalties. Skills become harder to develop as you age and responsibilities increase. Opportunities also disappear while you hesitate. Job openings get filled by faster applicants. Investment chances pass by during market changes. Social connections fade when you fail to maintain contact. Educational programs fill up or become unavailable. The punishment for procrastination often exceeds the original difficulty you were trying to avoid. Dealing with advanced health issues requires more time and money than preventive care would have cost. Repairing severely damaged relationships demands more effort than maintaining good ones would have required. Life rewards action even when timing feels imperfect. Starting with incomplete information usually produces better results than waiting for perfect conditions that never arrive. Taking imperfect action allows you to learn and adjust course rather than remaining paralyzed by uncertainty. Understanding this truth helps you recognize procrastination patterns and choose immediate action over comfortable delay. You learn that temporary discomfort of addressing problems early prevents much greater discomfort of dealing with consequences later. Words mean little without action. Words mean little without action means understanding that promises, plans, and declarations have no value unless followed by consistent behavior that demonstrates genuine commitment to stated intentions. People make countless statements about their goals, values, and future plans. They promise to exercise regularly, spend more time with family, save money, or pursue meaningful careers. They express strong opinions about politics, relationships, and life principles. But most of these words never translate into actual behavior changes. Actions reveal true priorities more accurately than any verbal declaration. Someone who talks constantly about health but never exercises clearly does not prioritize fitness despite their words. A person who claims family is most important but works constantly and skips important events demonstrates their actual values through choices rather than statements. Others judge you based on what you do rather than what you say. Your reputation forms through consistent actions over time. People trust individuals whose behavior matches their promises and lose respect for those who talk impressively but fail to follow through on commitments. This reality applies to all relationships and situations. Employers value workers who deliver results rather than those who make elaborate plans. Friends appreciate people who show up consistently rather than those who make grand gestures occasionally. Partners want reliability more than romantic words without supporting actions. Understanding this truth changes how you communicate with others and evaluate yourself. You focus on taking small consistent actions rather than making big promises. You measure progress through behavior changes rather than intentions or plans. The knowledge also helps you evaluate other people more accurately by watching their actions rather than believing their words when the two conflict. Entitlement kills growth. Entitlement kills growth means understanding that believing you deserve success, respect, or opportunities without earning them eliminates the motivation and effort necessary for actual improvement and achievement. Entitlement creates the dangerous illusion that good things should happen automatically based on your inherent worth rather than your performance. You expect promotions simply for showing up to work. You assume people should treat you well regardless of how you behave toward them. You believe opportunities should be offered without proving your capabilities. This mindset prevents learning from failure and criticism. When things go wrong, entitled people blame external circumstances rather than examining their own contributions to problems. They become defensive when receiving feedback instead of using it for improvement. They expect others to accommodate their weaknesses rather than developing strengths. Entitled individuals also resist putting in necessary effort for achievement. They want shortcuts to success that bypass the hard work everyone else must do. They expect special treatment and become angry when required to meet the same standards as other people. This attitude prevents developing discipline and persistence. Growth requires accepting that you must prove your worth through consistent performance over time. You earn respect by treating others well. You develop skills through practice and study. You achieve goals by working harder and smarter than your competition. Understanding this truth helps you maintain realistic expectations about what you deserve versus what you must earn. You focus energy on improving yourself rather than demanding that others recognize your inherent value. You welcome challenges as opportunities to demonstrate capability rather than obstacles that should not exist. The knowledge creates humility that makes learning possible and relationships healthier. Bad habits are easier to form than good ones. Bad habits are easier to form than good ones means understanding that destructive behaviors require minimal effort to establish while beneficial behaviors demand sustained discipline and conscious decision-making to become automatic. Bad habits align with natural human tendencies toward immediate gratification and comfort. Eating unhealthy food tastes good right now. Watching television requires no effort or skill. Procrastinating avoids temporary discomfort of difficult tasks. These behaviors provide instant rewards without delayed consequences. Your brain develops neural pathways that make repeated actions easier over time. Since bad habits feel good immediately, your brain reinforces them quickly. Within weeks, destructive behaviors become automatic responses that require no willpower to continue. Good habits work against natural inclinations toward laziness and instant pleasure. Exercise feels difficult and uncomfortable initially. Healthy eating requires planning and self-control. Productive work demands focus and effort. These behaviors provide delayed benefits while creating immediate discomfort. Establishing good habits requires conscious effort for much longer periods before they become automatic. Your brain resists behaviors that feel difficult or unpleasant, making it harder to create positive neural pathways. Most people give up before good habits become naturally reinforcing. This biological reality explains why most people struggle with self-improvement despite good intentions. They underestimate how much sustained effort good habits require and overestimate their willpower to resist bad habits that feel easy and pleasurable. Understanding this truth helps you prepare for the challenge of forming good habits. You can create environmental supports, accountability systems, and reward structures that make positive behaviors easier to maintain until they become automatic responses. You can't please everyone. You can't please everyone means accepting that any decision, opinion, or action you take will inevitably disappoint, anger, or alienate some people regardless of how carefully you try to consider everyone's preferences and feelings. People have conflicting values, priorities, and expectations that make universal approval mathematically impossible. What makes one person happy will make another person upset. Your choice to help someone often requires saying no to someone else. Your political opinions align with some people while offending others. Attempting to please everyone leads to paralysis and authenticity loss. You become afraid to express genuine opinions or make necessary decisions because someone might disapprove. You compromise your own values trying to accommodate conflicting demands from different people. You end up pleasing no one while exhausting yourself. The effort to avoid all conflict and criticism prevents taking meaningful action. Every important decision involves trade-offs that benefit some people more than others. Leadership requires making choices that some people will dislike. Personal growth often means disappointing people who prefer you to remain unchanged. People who try to please everyone typically end up being respected by no one. Others sense the inauthenticity and manipulation in constant people-pleasing behavior. They lose trust in someone who never takes clear positions or makes firm decisions. Understanding this truth frees you to act according to your genuine values and priorities. You can make decisions based on what you believe is right rather than trying to manage everyone's emotional reactions. You accept that disapproval from some people is the inevitable price of living authentically. This knowledge also helps you respect others who make unpopular but principled decisions rather than expecting them to prioritize your approval above their own judgment. Comfort now creates pain later. Comfort now creates pain later means understanding that choosing easy, pleasant, or convenient options in the present often leads to more difficult consequences and greater suffering in the future. Short-term comfort feels appealing because it provides immediate relief from stress, effort, or discomfort. You skip workouts to relax on the couch. You eat unhealthy food because it tastes better than vegetables. You avoid difficult conversations because they create temporary tension. You spend money instead of saving it because purchases provide instant gratification. But these comfortable choices compound over time into serious problems. Avoiding exercise leads to poor health that creates years of medical issues. Eating poorly results in obesity and disease. Postponing difficult conversations allows problems to grow larger and more complicated. Spending instead of saving creates financial stress and limited options. The pain that results from comfort seeking is usually much greater than the discomfort you were trying to avoid. Treating diabetes requires more effort than preventing it through healthy living. Repairing damaged relationships demands more energy than maintaining good ones. Financial emergencies create more stress than living within a budget. Successful people understand this principle and choose temporary discomfort for long-term benefit. They exercise when they feel tired. They save money instead of buying things they want. They have difficult conversations when problems are small. They work on skills even when progress feels slow. Understanding this truth helps you evaluate decisions based on long-term consequences rather than immediate comfort. You learn to tolerate temporary discomfort as an investment in future well-being. You recognize that most worthwhile achievements require sacrificing comfort today for better outcomes tomorrow. Fear of failure wastes years of potential. Fear of failure wastes years of potential means understanding that avoiding risk and staying in safe situations prevents you from discovering your capabilities and achieving meaningful accomplishments during your limited lifetime. Most people overestimate the consequences of failure while underestimating the cost of never trying. You imagine that failing at a business venture, relationship, or career change will create permanent damage to your reputation and self-worth. But these fears are usually much worse than actual failure experiences. Meanwhile, years pass while you avoid taking risks that could transform your life. You stay in unfulfilling jobs because changing careers might not work. You avoid starting relationships because rejection feels too painful. You postpone creative projects because they might not succeed. This protection from failure also protects you from growth and achievement. Fear-based decisions compound over time into lives filled with regret about missed opportunities. You watch other people achieve goals you wanted but were too afraid to pursue. You wonder what might have happened if you had been brave enough to try difficult things while you had energy and fewer responsibilities. The irony is that avoiding failure guarantees a different type of failure. Never risking disappointment means never experiencing triumph. Playing it safe prevents both loss and gain. This creates the slow failure of an unexplored life rather than the quick failure of attempted achievement. Most successful people fail repeatedly before finding approaches that work. They view failure as education rather than evidence of personal inadequacy. They understand that failing fast teaches lessons that lead to eventual success. Understanding this truth helps you reframe failure as a necessary step toward achievement rather than something to avoid at all costs. You don't get to choose your family, but you choose your circle. You don't get to choose your family, but you choose your circle means understanding that while you cannot control the relatives you were born with, you have complete authority over which people you allow to influence your thoughts, emotions, and life direction. Family relationships often create guilt and obligation that prevents healthy boundaries. You feel responsible for maintaining connections with relatives who treat you poorly because they are family. You tolerate toxic behavior that you would never accept from friends. You assume blood relationships require unconditional loyalty regardless of how others treat you. But family dysfunction can damage your mental health, self-esteem, and life choices just as severely as toxic friendships. Relatives who criticize constantly, manipulate emotionally, or drain your energy create the same negative effects as any unhealthy relationship. Biological connection does not eliminate the need for mutual respect and healthy boundaries. Meanwhile, you can carefully choose friends, mentors, romantic partners, and colleagues who support your growth and share your values. These chosen relationships often provide more understanding, encouragement, and genuine love than family members who know you but do not accept who you have become. Your circle of chosen people influences your daily experience much more than distant relatives you see occasionally. Friends affect your mood, confidence, and decision-making through regular interaction. Their attitudes about success, relationships, and life goals become part of your mental environment. Understanding this truth helps you invest energy in relationships that enrich your life rather than feeling obligated to maintain all family connections regardless of their impact. You can love family members while choosing to limit their influence on your emotional well-being and life choices. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to save you means accepting that you alone are responsible for solving your problems, improving your circumstances, and creating the life you want to live. External rescue is not coming regardless of how much you need or deserve help. This truth contradicts childhood conditioning where parents, teachers, and other adults solved problems for you. You developed expectations that someone with more power or resources would eventually help when situations become too difficult to handle alone. This creates dangerous passivity in adult life. Many people spend years waiting for rescue that never arrives. They hope employers will recognize their value and offer better opportunities. They expect friends or family to provide emotional or financial support during crises. They assume government programs or social services will address their problems. This waiting wastes time that could be spent taking action. The reality is that everyone else is focused primarily on their own survival and success. People have limited time, energy, and resources to help others even when they care about you. Those with power to provide significant help usually offer it only when doing so benefits them as well. Understanding this truth is initially frightening but ultimately liberating. It forces you to develop self-reliance and problem-solving skills instead of depending on others. You stop wasting energy hoping for external salvation and start taking concrete steps toward improvement. Self-rescue becomes a source of pride and confidence rather than burden. Each problem you solve independently proves your capability to handle future challenges. You become stronger and more resilient through taking full responsibility for your outcomes rather than remaining helpless while waiting for others to act. You are replaceable in almost every context. You are replaceable in almost every context means understanding that despite your sense of personal uniqueness and importance, most roles you fill can be performed adequately by other people when necessary. This harsh reality challenges the ego's need to feel indispensable and special. You want to believe that your specific skills, personality, and contributions make you irreplaceable at work, in relationships, and within social groups. You imagine that others depend on you so completely that your absence would create serious problems. But systems and relationships typically adapt quickly when someone leaves. Companies hire new employees who learn necessary skills. Friend groups form new dynamics when members move away. Even romantic partners eventually find love again after breakups or death. Organizations continue functioning when key people depart. Your replaceability does not mean you lack value or that relationships are meaningless. It simply means that life continues without any single individual. This forces you to find meaning in your own experience rather than depending on being irreplaceable to others. Understanding this truth can be initially depressing but ultimately freeing. It removes pressure to sacrifice your well-being to maintain positions where you feel indispensable. You realize that leaving toxic jobs or relationships will not destroy other people as much as you imagined. The knowledge also promotes humility and gratitude. Instead of taking your roles for granted or expecting special treatment, you appreciate opportunities while they last. You focus on contributing value while you can rather than assuming permanent importance. This perspective helps you make better decisions about where to invest time and energy based on what fulfills you rather than what makes you feel needed by others. The world doesn't reward fairness, it rewards leverage. The world doesn't reward fairness, it rewards leverage means understanding that outcomes depend more on power, influence, and strategic advantage than on moral rightness, hard work, or deserving better treatment. Fairness suggests that good behavior should lead to good results and that merit should determine rewards. You expect honest people to be trusted, hard workers to be promoted, and kind individuals to be treated well. This creates frustration when dishonest people succeed while ethical people struggle. But leverage determines most outcomes in business, politics, and social situations. People with money can buy better legal representation, education, and opportunities. Those with connections get jobs and favors that qualified strangers cannot access. Individuals with information or skills others need can negotiate better terms regardless of their moral character. Strategic positioning often matters more than personal qualities. Being in the right place at the right time creates opportunities that hard work alone cannot generate. Having something others want gives you negotiating power that kindness and fairness do not provide. This reality does not mean abandoning ethics or treating others poorly. Good character still matters for personal satisfaction and some relationships. But understanding leverage helps you make realistic plans rather than expecting the world to reward virtue automatically. Successful people often combine good character with strategic thinking. They develop skills, build networks, and position themselves advantageously while maintaining ethical behavior when possible. They understand that doing the right thing is personally important but may not be externally rewarded without also having leverage. Understanding this truth helps you focus energy on building genuine advantages rather than assuming moral behavior alone will create desired outcomes. Forgiveness doesn't always mean trust. Forgiveness doesn't always mean trust means understanding that releasing anger and resentment towards someone who hurt you does not require giving them opportunities to cause the same damage again in the future. Many people confuse forgiveness with reconciliation and assume that forgiving someone means returning to the exact same relationship dynamic that existed before the betrayal. You think that letting go of anger obligates you to trust that person completely again. This creates dangerous situations where you expose yourself to repeated harm. Forgiveness is primarily an internal process that benefits your own mental health. It means releasing the emotional burden of carrying anger and resentment that continues hurting you long after the original incident. You choose to stop ruminating about the betrayal and stop seeking revenge or punishment. Trust is an external decision about future interactions based on evidence of changed behavior over time. Someone who lies repeatedly has demonstrated unreliability that forgiveness cannot erase. Someone who betrays confidences has shown they cannot handle sensitive information safely. Past behavior remains the best predictor of future actions. You can forgive someone while maintaining appropriate boundaries to protect yourself. You might forgive a friend who stole from you while never lending them money again. You could forgive an unfaithful partner while ending the romantic relationship. You can forgive family members who abused you while limiting future contact. Understanding this distinction protects you from manipulation by people who demand trust as proof of your forgiveness. You can experience the emotional freedom that comes from releasing resentment while making practical decisions that prevent future harm. This knowledge helps you maintain both inner peace and personal safety in relationships with people who have proven themselves untrustworthy through their actions. Ignoring problems makes them worse. Ignoring problems makes them worse means understanding that avoiding, denying, or postponing attention to difficulties allows them to grow in complexity and severity until they become much harder and more expensive to resolve. Most people naturally want to avoid dealing with unpleasant situations. You hope problems will resolve themselves if left alone long enough. You rationalize that the issue is not serious enough to warrant immediate attention. You convince yourself that addressing problems will create more stress than ignoring them. But problems rarely disappear without intervention. Small health issues become serious medical conditions without treatment. Minor relationship conflicts escalate into major breakdowns without communication. Financial difficulties compound through interest and penalties when ignored. Work problems create bigger complications when left unaddressed. The energy required to solve problems increases dramatically over time. A difficult conversation that could resolve a conflict in 1 hour might require weeks of counseling if postponed. A small car repair that costs $200 can become a $3,000 replacement if neglected. Ignored problems also create secondary issues that compound the original difficulty. Avoiding medical checkups can turn treatable conditions into life-threatening emergencies. Postponing difficult conversations allows misunderstandings to damage relationships permanently. Delaying financial planning creates stress that affects health and family harmony. Early intervention usually requires less time, money, and emotional energy than crisis management after problems have grown serious. Addressing issues when they are small and manageable prevents them from becoming overwhelming later. Understanding this truth helps you recognize avoidance patterns and choose temporary discomfort of early action over much greater difficulty of delayed response to expanded problems. People will betray you. People will betray you means accepting that even trusted individuals will sometimes choose their own interests over loyalty to you when circumstances create conflicts between your needs and their desires or survival. This truth challenges fundamental assumptions about human nature and relationships. You want to believe that people who care about you will always act in your best interest. You assume loyalty, honesty, and support from friends, family members, and romantic partners based on your history together. But everyone faces situations where helping you costs them something significant. Friends might choose career advancement over supporting you during workplace conflicts. Family members might prioritize their own financial security over family loyalty. Romantic partners might choose new relationships over working through difficulties with you. Betrayal happens not because people are fundamentally evil but because self-preservation instincts often override social obligations when stakes become high enough. People rationalize betrayal by minimizing harm to you or exaggerating benefits to themselves. Understanding this reality does not mean becoming cynical or suspicious of everyone. Most people maintain loyalty most of the time. But preparing mentally for occasional betrayal prevents devastating shock when it occurs. You can build relationships while maintaining reasonable emotional boundaries. This knowledge helps you make better decisions about how much trust to place in different people and situations. You might share sensitive information more carefully or avoid depending entirely on any single person for critical needs. The truth also promotes forgiveness when betrayal occurs because you understand it reflects human weakness rather than unusual evil. You can maintain relationships while adjusting expectations to match demonstrated reliability rather than hoped for perfection. Talent is wasted without consistency. Talent is wasted without consistency means understanding that natural abilities and exceptional skills produce no meaningful results without regular practice, disciplined effort, and sustained commitment over long periods of time. Natural talent creates early advantages that often become long-term disadvantages. Gifted individuals typically succeed easily in childhood and adolescence without developing strong work habits. They rely on ability rather than effort, which works until they encounter challenges that require sustained practice to overcome. Meanwhile, less naturally gifted people develop consistency and discipline through necessity. They must work harder to achieve similar initial results, which teaches them the value of regular effort and systematic improvement. These habits become more valuable than natural ability as challenges increase. Talent without consistency leads to mediocre outcomes because abilities deteriorate without use. Skills require regular practice to maintain and improve. Creative abilities fade without ongoing development. Even exceptional intelligence becomes less effective without disciplined application to meaningful problems. Consistency without exceptional talent often produces better results than talent without consistency. Regular practice accumulates into expertise that surpasses natural ability. Disciplined effort creates reliability that others can depend on. Sustained commitment leads to achievements that sporadic brilliance cannot match. The most successful people combine whatever talent they possess with consistent effort over many years. They understand that initial advantages mean nothing without the discipline to develop them fully. They build habits that support long-term growth rather than relying on natural gifts to carry them. Understanding this truth helps you focus on developing consistent practices rather than hoping natural abilities will automatically create success. You appreciate talent while recognizing that sustained effort determines actual achievements. Discipline feels like pain until it feels like freedom. Discipline feels like pain until it feels like freedom means understanding that the initial discomfort of self-control and structured behavior eventually transforms into liberation from the consequences of impulsive decisions and chaotic living. Early discipline feels restrictive and unpleasant because it requires denying immediate desires for long-term benefits. You must wake up early when you want to sleep longer. You eat healthy food instead of tasty junk. You save money rather than buying things you want. You exercise when you feel tired. These choices create constant internal conflict. The pain comes from fighting against natural inclinations toward comfort and instant gratification. Your brain resists activities that require effort or delay rewards. Disciplined behavior feels like punishment because it forces you to do things you do not want to do at moments when you do not want to do them. But sustained discipline eventually creates results that feel liberating. Good health provides energy and confidence that makes daily activities easier. Financial discipline creates security and options that reduce stress. Physical fitness makes your body feel stronger and more capable. Professional discipline builds skills that create opportunities. Over time, disciplined habits become automatic behaviors that require less willpower to maintain. You stop fighting internal resistance because healthy choices become normal responses. The structure that once felt restrictive now provides stability and predictability that supports everything else you want to accomplish. Freedom emerges when discipline removes the limitations created by poor choices. You become free from health problems, financial stress, relationship chaos, and professional stagnation. Self-control creates the foundation for pursuing bigger goals rather than constantly managing crises created by impulsive decisions. Someone always has it worse than you, and better. Someone always has it worse than you, and better means understanding that no matter what your circumstances are, there will always be people suffering more severely while others enjoy greater advantages, making comparison a futile exercise that prevents contentment. This reality challenges the human tendency to measure happiness and success relative to others rather than appreciating your own situation objectively. You feel poor compared to wealthy neighbors while ignoring billions of people who lack basic necessities. You feel unsuccessful compared to famous achievers while overlooking your advantages over those struggling with serious disadvantages. The comparison trap creates endless dissatisfaction because there is no winning position. Even extremely successful people find others who have achieved more in different areas. Even those facing serious hardships can find people dealing with worse circumstances. The measuring never ends and satisfaction never arrives. Understanding this truth helps you develop gratitude for your current situation without ignoring real problems that need attention. You can work to improve your life while appreciating what already works well. You stop wasting energy feeling sorry for yourself by remembering others who face greater challenges with less support. This perspective also prevents excessive pride during good times by remembering that advantages often result from circumstances beyond your control rather than superior character or effort. Many factors that determine life outcomes involve luck, timing, genetics, and family background rather than personal choices alone. The knowledge promotes both humility during success and resilience during difficulties. You recognize that everyone faces some advantages and some challenges rather than life being completely fair or unfair to any individual. This balanced understanding allows you to focus on your own growth and contribution rather than constantly comparing your situation to others. Death can come at any moment. Death can come at any moment means accepting that life can end suddenly and unpredictably through accidents, medical emergencies, or violence regardless of your age, health, or careful planning for the future. This truth contradicts natural human assumptions about life expectancy and controllable risk. Young healthy people expect decades of remaining life. Careful individuals assume that good habits and risk avoidance will protect them from premature death. Everyone makes plans based on the assumption that tomorrow will arrive as scheduled. But death operates beyond human control or prediction. Heart attacks strike healthy athletes. Accidents claim careful drivers. Violence affects innocent people in safe neighborhoods. Medical conditions develop rapidly without warning signs. Natural disasters strike without regard for preparation or virtue. Understanding mortality's unpredictability creates both anxiety and liberation. The anxiety comes from recognizing that security is largely illusion and that everything you care about could disappear instantly. But liberation comes from realizing that postponing important experiences and relationships makes no sense. This knowledge changes daily priorities significantly. Important conversations should happen today rather than next month. Love should be expressed openly rather than assumed to be understood. Dreams should be pursued now while health and opportunity allow rather than waiting for perfect future conditions. People facing terminal illness often report that awareness of limited time improves life quality by focusing attention on meaningful activities and relationships while eliminating trivial concerns. Understanding that everyone faces uncertain time remaining can create similar clarity about what truly matters. The truth demands balancing reasonable planning with acceptance that plans may be interrupted by circumstances beyond anyone's control. Success can isolate you. Success can isolate you means understanding that achieving goals and gaining advantages often creates distance from others through envy, lifestyle changes, and different priorities that make maintaining previous relationships difficult or impossible. Success changes your daily reality in ways that separate you from people who remain in previous circumstances. You work longer hours building a business while friends have time for casual socializing. You can afford experiences that old friends cannot share. You face problems and opportunities that people in different situations cannot understand or relate to. Other people often respond to your success with complex emotions that damage relationships. Some friends become resentful or competitive rather than genuinely happy for your achievements. Family members might expect financial help or special treatment based on your improved circumstances. Colleagues might treat you differently once you receive promotions or recognition. New responsibilities that come with success also limit time and energy for maintaining all previous relationships. Leadership roles require difficult decisions that disappoint some people. Financial success creates requests and expectations from others that strain friendships. Public recognition brings scrutiny and criticism that affects privacy. Success often requires spending time with different people who share your new interests, challenges, and lifestyle. These new relationships might provide better understanding of your current situation but lack the history and comfort of old friendships that cannot adapt to your changed circumstances. Understanding this reality helps you prepare for relationship changes that accompany achievement rather than being surprised or hurt when isolation occurs. You can work to maintain important connections while accepting that some relationships will naturally fade as circumstances diverge. The knowledge also helps you appreciate current friendships and plan for building new relationships as your life evolves. Popularity is temporary. Popularity is temporary means understanding that social approval, public attention, and widespread admiration inevitably fade as circumstances change, new people emerge, or public interest shifts to different topics and individuals. Popularity feels permanent when you are experiencing it because the attention and approval create powerful positive emotions. You assume that current admiration reflects enduring qualities that will continue attracting support indefinitely. You make decisions based on maintaining popularity rather than pursuing authentic goals. But public attention operates in cycles that no individual can control permanently. Audiences become bored with familiar faces and seek novelty elsewhere. New people emerge with fresh appeal that makes previous favorites seem outdated. Changing social values make once popular individuals seem irrelevant or problematic. Even people who achieve lasting fame experience periods of reduced popularity as cultural trends evolve. Musicians go out of style. Actors lose box office appeal. Politicians fall from favor. Social media influencers watch follower counts decline as algorithms change and audiences move to new platforms. Building identity around popularity creates vulnerability to depression and desperation when attention inevitably decreases. People who depend on external approval for self-worth struggle with normal fluctuations in social support and public interest. Understanding popularity's temporary nature helps you enjoy social approval while it lasts without depending on it for fundamental happiness or self-worth. You can appreciate positive attention while building internal sources of satisfaction that remain stable regardless of public opinion. This knowledge also prevents making poor decisions solely to maintain popularity when doing so conflicts with your genuine values or long-term interests. You focus on developing authentic qualities rather than performing for approval that will eventually fade anyway. Jealousy reveals more about you than about them. Jealousy reveals more about you than about them means understanding that envious feelings toward others reflect your own insecurities, unfulfilled desires, and personal values rather than providing accurate information about the people you envy. Jealousy emerges when others possess something you want but lack. You envy someone's career success because you feel dissatisfied with your own professional achievements. You resent another person's relationship because you feel lonely or unhappy in your current situation. You become bitter about others' financial success because you worry about your own economic security. The intensity of jealous feelings indicates the importance of specific areas to your personal happiness and self-worth. Strong envy about others' physical appearance reveals insecurity about your own looks. Resentment toward others' social connections shows loneliness or social anxiety. Bitterness about others' achievements highlights your own unfulfilled ambitions. Meanwhile, the person you envy might be struggling with problems you cannot see or pursuing goals that would not actually satisfy you if achieved. Their success might have come at costs you would not be willing to pay. Their advantages might create problems you have never considered. Understanding jealousy as self-revelation rather than judgment of others helps you use envious feelings constructively. Instead of resenting successful people, you can examine what their achievements represent that you want in your own life. You can use jealousy as motivation for personal improvement rather than wasting energy on bitter feelings. This perspective also promotes empathy toward people you previously envied by recognizing that everyone faces challenges and that external appearances rarely reveal complete reality. You can appreciate others' success while working toward your own goals rather than allowing resentment to prevent both gratitude and personal growth. You're not a priority to everyone you value. You're not a priority to everyone you value means understanding that the people you care about most may not reciprocate the same level of importance, attention, or emotional investment that you direct toward them. This reality challenges assumptions about mutual caring and balanced relationships. You assume that friends who matter greatly to you also consider you among their closest relationships. You expect family members you prioritize to make similar space for you in their lives. You believe that romantic partners or mentors you admire deeply also see you as uniquely important. But everyone has limited emotional energy and time that they distribute according to their own priorities, histories, and needs. Someone might appreciate your friendship while investing more heavily in other relationships that serve different purposes. They might value your connection while prioritizing family, career, or romantic partners above platonic friendships. Your position in someone else's priority list depends on factors beyond your control. Their childhood experiences, personality type, life circumstances, and existing relationships all influence how much attention they can offer. Someone going through personal crisis might have no emotional capacity for maintaining friendships despite caring about you genuinely. Understanding this truth prevents taking other people's limited availability personally when it reflects their circumstances rather than their feelings about you. You can appreciate whatever attention they do provide rather than feeling hurt by what they cannot give. This knowledge also helps you distribute your own emotional investment more wisely. Instead of pouring all energy into relationships with people who cannot reciprocate equally, you can balance your attention across multiple connections while maintaining realistic expectations about what each relationship can provide. The truth promotes accepting relationships as they actually exist rather than demanding they match your ideal preferences. Some wounds never fully heal. Some wounds never fully heal means accepting that certain traumatic experiences, betrayals, and losses create permanent changes in your emotional landscape that must be managed rather than completely resolved. People often expect that time automatically heals all emotional pain and that proper therapy or personal work can eliminate the impact of severe trauma completely. You believe that childhood abuse, death of loved ones, or devastating betrayals should eventually stop affecting your thoughts, relationships, and daily experiences. But some experiences create lasting alterations in how you perceive safety, trust, and relationships. Severe trauma can permanently change brain chemistry and stress responses. Losing someone central to your identity creates empty spaces that adaptation cannot fill completely. Betrayal by trusted people can create permanent caution in future relationships. These ongoing effects do not indicate failure to heal properly or insufficient personal growth. They represent realistic responses to experiences that exceeded normal human capacity to process without lasting impact. The wounds become integrated parts of your personality rather than temporary problems to solve. Understanding this truth helps you develop compassion for your own continuing struggles rather than feeling frustrated by incomplete healing. You can work on managing trauma responses and building coping strategies while accepting that complete elimination of all effects may not be possible or necessary. This knowledge also promotes realistic expectations about recovery timelines and outcomes. Instead of measuring progress by return to previous emotional states, you can appreciate improvements in functioning while accepting permanent changes as normal consequences of significant experiences. The truth allows you to find meaning and growth within ongoing challenges rather than postponing life satisfaction until achieving impossible complete healing. You can't control how others treat you, only how you react. You can't control how others treat you, only how you react means understanding that while other people's behavior toward you affects your experiences, your responses to their actions determine the actual impact on your emotional well-being and life outcomes. This truth challenges the natural desire to control others' behavior through persuasion, manipulation, or expectation. You want people to treat you with respect, kindness, and consideration. You expect fair treatment based on how you treat them. You assume that explaining your needs clearly will change how others respond to you. But everyone acts according to their own motivations, emotions, and circumstances rather than your preferences. People treat you based on their personality, mood, stress levels, and personal history rather than your expectations. Their behavior reflects their internal state more than your worthiness or actions. Attempting to control others' treatment of you creates frustration and powerlessness because you cannot force behavioral changes in people who do not want to change. You waste energy trying to convince inconsiderate people to become thoughtful or hoping that toxic individuals will suddenly become healthy. However, you have complete control over your responses to whatever treatment you receive. You can choose whether to take rude behavior personally or recognize it as reflecting the other person's problems. You can decide whether to continue relationships with people who treat you poorly or establish better boundaries. Your reactions determine whether negative treatment damages your self-esteem, ruins your mood, or affects your other relationships. You can respond to criticism by examining it for useful information while ignoring personal attacks. You can maintain inner peace regardless of others' chaos around you. Understanding this principle helps you focus energy on developing emotional resilience rather than trying to control uncontrollable people. Life goes on after you're gone. Life goes on after you're gone means accepting that the world will continue functioning normally after your death, with people adapting to your absence and eventually moving forward without significant long-term disruption to their daily experiences. This reality challenges the ego's need to feel permanently important and irreplaceable. You want to believe that your death will create lasting impact on family, friends, and communities. You imagine that people who care about you will never fully recover from losing you. You assume your contributions are so significant that your absence will create permanent changes. But human life demonstrates remarkable resilience and adaptation. People grieve losses intensely initially but gradually return to normal functioning as time passes. Your job gets filled by someone else who learns necessary skills. Your responsibilities are redistributed among family members who develop new capabilities. Your social roles are assumed by others or simply disappear without major consequences. Even people who love you deeply eventually form new relationships, create different memories, and find ways to be happy without your presence. This does not diminish the genuine care they feel or the positive impact you had while alive. It simply reflects the natural human capacity to adapt and continue living after loss. Understanding this truth can initially feel depressing because it suggests that individual existence matters less than you hoped. But it also provides liberation from excessive responsibility for others' happiness and well-being. You can live authentically rather than sacrificing yourself to be indispensable to people who will ultimately survive your absence. The knowledge also promotes focusing on present experiences and relationships rather than worrying about legacy and permanent impact that may matter less than you imagine. Fear kills more dreams than failure. Fear kills more dreams than failure means understanding that avoiding risks and staying in comfortable situations prevents more people from achieving their goals than actual unsuccessful attempts at pursuing ambitious plans. Most people never discover their limits because they avoid testing them. You dream about starting a business but fear losing money or appearing foolish if it fails. You want to pursue creative projects but worry about criticism or rejection. You consider career changes but feel paralyzed by uncertainty about outcomes. These fears often prove much worse than actual failure experiences. Failed business ventures provide valuable learning about markets, customers, and business operations. Rejected creative work teaches resilience and helps improve skills. Career changes that do not work perfectly still provide new experiences and expanded networks. Meanwhile, avoiding risks guarantees certain failure through missed opportunities. You never discover what might have been possible because fear prevents attempting anything challenging. Dreams remain fantasies rather than tested possibilities. Potential remains unexplored rather than developed through action. Fear-based decisions compound over time into lives filled with regret about paths not taken. Years pass while you wait for perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes that never arrive. Other people achieve goals you wanted but were afraid to pursue. You watch from the sidelines while life passes by unused. The irony is that avoiding failure creates a different type of failure through inaction. Never risking disappointment means never experiencing achievement. Playing it safe prevents both loss and gain, leaving you with the slow failure of an unexplored life rather than quick lessons from attempted success. Understanding this truth helps you reframe fear as a signal pointing toward important growth opportunities rather than warnings to avoid all risks. Your feelings don't change facts. Your feelings don't change facts means understanding that emotional reactions to reality, no matter how intense or justified, cannot alter objective circumstances or transform wishful thinking into actual truth. This truth challenges the modern tendency to prioritize emotional experience over factual reality. You feel that something should be different, so you expect circumstances to change based on your desires. You become angry about situations that seem unfair, assuming your outrage will somehow correct them. You feel entitled to certain outcomes because you want them desperately. But reality operates independently of human emotions and preferences. Financial debt exists regardless of how stressed it makes you feel. Medical diagnoses remain accurate despite your fear or denial. Relationship problems persist despite your hope that love alone will resolve them. Market conditions affect your investments whether you feel optimistic or pessimistic about them. Emotions provide important information about your values and needs, but they cannot change external circumstances through their intensity alone. Feeling betrayed does not make someone's actions less hurtful, but it also does not undo what happened. Being angry about injustice highlights problems that need attention without automatically creating solutions. The confusion between feelings and facts often prevents effective problem solving. Instead of accepting difficult realities and working within actual constraints, people waste energy hoping their emotions will somehow alter unchangeable circumstances. They make decisions based on how they wish things were rather than how they actually are. Understanding this distinction helps you use emotions as valuable signals about what matters to you while making practical decisions based on factual information. You can feel disappointed about setbacks while still taking realistic action toward improvement based on actual circumstances rather than hoped-for conditions. People remember mistakes longer than victories. People remember mistakes longer than victories means understanding that others tend to focus on and recall your failures, errors, and embarrassing moments more vividly and permanently than your successes and positive contributions. This psychological reality reflects how human brains process information for survival purposes. Negative events register more strongly because they might indicate threats that need attention for future safety. Mistakes create stronger emotional memories because they feel surprising or disappointing compared to expected positive outcomes. Your victories often become expected baseline performance that others take for granted quickly. Successful project completions, helpful gestures, and reliable behavior blend into background assumptions about your capabilities. People notice when you meet expectations but do not store these experiences as memorable events. Meanwhile, single mistakes create lasting impressions that influence how others perceive your future actions. One public embarrassment can overshadow months of competent work. A single moment of poor judgment might define your reputation despite years of good decisions. Failed attempts are remembered longer than successful ones. This reality feels unfair because it means your efforts to build positive reputation face constant vulnerability to being damaged by isolated negative incidents. You work hard to establish credibility that can be undermined quickly by temporary failures that everyone will remember clearly. Understanding this truth helps you take extra care with important decisions and public actions while accepting that occasional mistakes are inevitable. You can work to minimize serious errors while not becoming paralyzed by fear of making any mistakes at all. The knowledge also promotes forgiveness toward others when they make errors, recognizing that you probably remember their mistakes more clearly than they deserve based on their overall character and contributions. Tomorrow isn't promised. Tomorrow isn't promised means accepting that the future you expect and plan for may never arrive due to circumstances completely beyond your control, making present moments the only guaranteed experiences you will ever have. This truth contradicts natural human planning instincts and the illusion of guaranteed time that makes daily life psychologically manageable. You make appointments for next week, save money for retirement, and postpone important conversations until more convenient moments. These behaviors assume tomorrow will arrive as scheduled. But countless factors could prevent your anticipated future from occurring. Natural disasters, accidents, medical emergencies, economic collapse, or personal crises can interrupt any plans instantly. The person you plan to call tomorrow might not be available. The opportunity you expect next month might disappear. The health you assume will continue might fail suddenly. Understanding this reality creates urgency about living meaningfully today rather than postponing important experiences indefinitely. Love should be expressed now rather than assumed to be understood. Dreams should be pursued while energy and opportunity exist rather than waiting for perfect future conditions. This knowledge also promotes gratitude for ordinary moments that might be taken for granted otherwise. Simple conversations with family become precious when you recognize they are not guaranteed to continue. Routine activities gain meaning when viewed as potentially final opportunities rather than endless repetitions. The truth demands balancing reasonable planning with acceptance that plans may be interrupted. You can prepare for likely futures while appreciating current experiences fully and taking important actions now rather than assuming unlimited time remains for everything you want to accomplish. Most opportunities never come twice. Most opportunities never come twice means understanding that specific chances for advancement, connection, or experience typically appear once and disappear permanently when not pursued immediately, requiring quick decision-making and acceptance of imperfect timing. This reality challenges the assumption that good opportunities will return if missed initially. You believe that job openings will be posted again if you are not ready to apply now. You assume that relationship possibilities will persist if you need more time to decide. You expect that travel, education, or business opportunities will repeat themselves when circumstances become more convenient. But most opportunities emerge from unique combinations of timing, circumstances, and available resources that rarely align identically again. Companies hire for specific positions when they have immediate needs and budget availability. People form relationships based on current life circumstances and emotional availability that change over time. Economic conditions, social trends, and personal situations create windows for specific opportunities that close permanently when conditions change. Real estate markets shift. Educational programs get discontinued. People move away or change their priorities. Technologies become obsolete before you learn to use them effectively. Waiting for perfect conditions or complete preparation often means missing opportunities entirely rather than getting better versions later. The job you are not quite qualified for today might not be available when you develop additional skills. The person you hesitate to approach might enter a relationship with someone else who acts more decisively. Understanding this truth helps you make faster decisions about potential opportunities while accepting that perfect timing rarely exists. You can pursue chances that seem reasonably good rather than waiting for ideal circumstances that may never arrive. The knowledge also promotes taking calculated risks when promising opportunities appear rather than assuming they will return with better timing later. The past can't be changed, only accepted. The past can't be changed, only accepted means understanding that no amount of regret, rumination, or wishful thinking can alter events that have already occurred, making acceptance the only psychologically healthy response to previous experiences. This truth contradicts the natural human tendency to replay past events mentally while imagining different choices that would have produced better outcomes. You obsess over mistakes and wonder how life would be different if you had acted differently. You feel guilty about past decisions and wish you could undo damage caused by previous actions. But historical events exist as fixed realities that cannot be modified regardless of how much emotional energy you invest in regretting them. The relationship that ended cannot be unended. The investment that failed cannot be unmade. The words that hurt someone cannot be unspoken. The opportunities that were missed are gone permanently. Ruminating about past mistakes creates ongoing suffering without producing any positive changes in current circumstances. Mental energy spent wishing things had been different could be redirected toward making current and future situations better. Guilt about previous actions helps no one unless it motivates different behavior going forward. Acceptance does not mean approving of what happened or pretending that past events were good when they caused harm. It means acknowledging reality as it actually occurred rather than fighting against unchangeable facts. You can learn from previous experiences while releasing emotional attachment to alternative versions of history. Understanding this principle helps you redirect energy from useless regret toward productive action in present circumstances. You can use past experiences as education for making better current decisions while accepting that previous choices cannot be revised regardless of their outcomes. Growth feels uncomfortable. Growth feels uncomfortable means that true personal development never happens within your comfort zone. When you're genuinely growing, you experience mental tension, emotional discomfort, and physical unease. Your brain resists change because it perceives the unknown as threatening. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It's actually evidence that you're expanding beyond your current limitations. Think about a muscle growing stronger. The process involves tearing and rebuilding tissue, which creates soreness. Similarly, psychological growth requires breaking down old thought patterns and behaviors that no longer serve you. This process feels awkward, frightening, and uncertain. Most people mistake this discomfort for danger and retreat back to familiar patterns. They choose the pain of staying the same over the temporary pain of growth. But comfort zones are actually comfort traps. They feel safe but they slowly suffocate your potential. Real growth demands that you sit with uncertainty. It requires you to take action before you feel ready. You must learn new skills while feeling incompetent. You must face rejection while building confidence. You must make decisions with incomplete information. The discomfort is temporary, but the growth is permanent. Every time you push through the resistance, you expand your capacity for handling life's challenges. You build resilience, confidence, and capability. Remember that feeling uncomfortable doesn't mean you're in actual danger. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between real threats and perceived ones. Learning to differentiate between productive discomfort and genuine harm is crucial for continued development. You can't win every battle. You can't win every battle means that defeat is an inevitable part of life, not a character flaw or personal failure. Every person faces situations where their best efforts aren't enough, where preparation meets bad timing, where good intentions collide with harsh reality. This lesson cuts deep because society teaches us that winners always find a way, that persistence guarantees success, that failure only happens to people who don't try hard enough. These beliefs set you up for crushing disappointment when you encounter your first real defeat. Some battles are unwinnable from the start. You might face opponents with more resources, better timing, or simply lucky circumstances. Other battles become unwinnable due to factors beyond your control. Economic downturns, health crises, family emergencies, or natural disasters can derail even the most carefully planned strategies. Accepting this reality isn't giving up or making excuses. It's developing wisdom. Smart fighters choose their battles carefully. They recognize when to retreat, regroup, and fight another day. They understand that losing one battle doesn't mean losing the war. The key insight is learning to distinguish between battles worth fighting and those that will drain your resources unnecessarily. Some hills aren't worth dying on. Some arguments aren't worth winning. Some relationships aren't worth saving. Your energy, time, and emotional capacity are finite resources. Spending them on unwinnable battles leaves you depleted for the fights that actually matter. Winners don't win every battle. They win the battles that count. Your reputation is fragile. Your reputation is fragile means that the image others hold of you can shatter with a single poor decision or unfortunate circumstance. Years of careful relationship building can vanish overnight. One moment of weakness can overshadow decades of strength. People form impressions quickly and change them slowly. They remember negative events more vividly than positive ones. This psychological bias means that one mistake often outweighs 10 successes in how others perceive you. Social media has made reputations even more fragile. Screenshots last forever. Comments taken out of context spread rapidly. Private moments become public scandals. The internet never forgets, and it rarely forgives. Your reputation exists in other people's minds, not in your control. You can influence it through consistent behavior, but you cannot dictate how others interpret your actions. Someone might misunderstand your intentions. Others might spread false information about you. Some people will dislike you regardless of what you do. This fragility creates anxiety for many people. They become paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes. They craft perfect social media personas while hiding their authentic selves. They avoid taking risks that might damage their image. The paradox is that trying too hard to protect your reputation often damages it. People sense authenticity and respond to it. They respect those who admit mistakes and learn from them. A reputation built on perfection is built on lies. Focus on building character rather than image. Character is who you are when nobody is watching. Reputation is who people think you are. Character endures. Reputation fluctuates. Gratitude is rare. Entitlement is common. Gratitude is rare while entitlement is common means that most people focus on what they lack rather than appreciating what they have. They expect rewards without effort. They demand recognition without achievement. They believe the world owes them success, happiness, and comfort. Modern society fuels this entitlement. Social media shows highlight reels that make everyone else's life look perfect. Marketing messages promise instant gratification. Participation trophies teach children that showing up equals succeeding. Entitled people become bitter when reality doesn't match their expectations. They blame external factors for their problems. They resent others' success instead of learning from it. They wait for opportunities instead of creating them. Gratitude operates differently. It recognizes that nothing is guaranteed. That every opportunity is a gift. That other people's time and energy are valuable resources they choose to share with you. Grateful people understand that their current position results from countless factors beyond their control. Their birthplace, family situation, natural abilities, and historical timing all influence their opportunities. This recognition creates humility rather than arrogance. Gratitude is a skill that requires practice. It means noticing small kindnesses that others show you. Appreciating the infrastructure that supports your daily life. Recognizing the sacrifices others made for your benefit. The irony is that grateful people tend to receive more opportunities than entitled people. Others enjoy helping those who appreciate their efforts. They avoid assisting those who take their help for granted. Entitlement repels. Gratitude attracts. Choose wisely. Sacrifice is mandatory, not optional. Sacrifice is mandatory, not optional means that every meaningful achievement requires giving up something valuable. You cannot have everything you want. Every choice eliminates other possibilities. Every yes requires multiple no's. People fantasize about lives without trade-offs. They want successful careers and unlimited free time. They desire strong relationships without investing emotional energy. They expect physical fitness without dietary discipline. They seek financial security without spending restrictions. This thinking leads to frustration and failure. Resources are limited. Time is finite. Energy is exhaustible. Attention is scarce. You must allocate these resources strategically, which means some areas of your life will receive less than others. Career success might require sacrificing social time. Physical fitness might demand giving up certain foods. Financial security might mean driving an older car. Strong relationships require sacrificing some personal freedom. The key is making conscious sacrifices rather than unconscious ones. Many people sacrifice their most important goals for immediate pleasures. They trade long-term health for short-term comfort. They exchange meaningful relationships for temporary entertainment. Smart sacrifices involve giving up good things to get great things. Poor sacrifices involve trading great things for good things. The difference determines whether you build the life you want or settle for the life you accidentally create. Understanding this principle helps you evaluate opportunities more clearly. When someone offers you something valuable, ask what it will cost. When you want to achieve something important, identify what you must sacrifice to get it. Some people you trust most will hurt you deepest. Some people you trust most will hurt you deepest means that betrayal comes from those closest to you, not from strangers or obvious enemies. The people with access to your vulnerabilities are the ones capable of inflicting the most damage. They know your fears, insecurities, and dreams because you shared them willingly. This betrayal feels devastating precisely because it violates your expectations. You believe these people cared about your well-being. You assumed they would protect the sacred information you entrusted to them. Instead, they use your openness as a weapon against you. Sometimes this betrayal is intentional. A friend spreads your secrets during a conflict. A family member manipulates your emotions for their benefit. A romantic partner cheats after promising loyalty. These actions demonstrate calculated cruelty from people who knew exactly how much damage they would cause. Other times the betrayal is unintentional but equally painful. A trusted friend makes decisions that harm you while pursuing their own interests. A family member breaks promises due to their own weakness. A partner leaves when you need them most because they cannot handle the pressure. The deepest cuts come from those you never suspected. The loyal friend who suddenly turns against you. The supportive family member who reveals themselves as jealous and resentful. The loving partner who has been living a double life. This reality doesn't mean you should stop trusting people. It means you should understand that trust always involves risk. That even good people sometimes make terrible choices. That human beings are complex and capable of both great kindness and profound selfishness. Self-pity solves nothing. Self-pity solves nothing means that feeling sorry for yourself is an emotional dead end that consumes energy without creating solutions. While acknowledging pain is healthy, wallowing in victimhood keeps you trapped in cycles of helplessness and resentment. Self-pity feels temporarily satisfying because it validates your suffering. It confirms that life has treated you unfairly. It excuses you from taking action because you frame yourself as powerless. You get to be right about how terrible your situation is while avoiding the hard work of changing it. This emotional state becomes addictive. Each time you rehearse your grievances, you strengthen neural pathways that reinforce victim thinking. You train your brain to notice evidence that supports your powerless narrative while ignoring opportunities for improvement. Self-pity also repels others. People initially offer sympathy, but chronic complainers drain energy from everyone around them. Friends avoid those who constantly focus on their problems without attempting solutions. Romantic partners lose attraction to people who see themselves as perpetual victims. The alternative is taking responsibility for your response to circumstances. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you interpret and respond to those events. This shift from victim to agent transforms your entire experience of life. Responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything bad that happens. It means recognizing your power to influence outcomes through your choices. It means focusing energy on actions you can take rather than circumstances you cannot change. Self-pity asks, why me? Responsibility asks, what now? The first question leads nowhere. The second question leads to solutions. Nobody respects those who don't respect themselves. Nobody respects those who don't respect themselves means that your relationship with yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. People observe how you talk about yourself, the boundaries you maintain, and the standards you uphold. They then mirror that energy back to you. When you constantly criticize yourself, others feel permission to do the same. When you accept poor treatment without protest, people assume that level of treatment is acceptable to you. When you break promises to yourself, others learn that your commitments are negotiable. Self-respect manifests in your daily choices. It shows up in how you dress, speak, and carry yourself. It appears in the goals you set and the efforts you make to achieve them. It's visible in the relationships you maintain and the boundaries you enforce. People without self-respect often believe that being humble or self-deprecating will make others like them more. They think that putting themselves down will prevent others from doing it. This strategy backfires completely. Instead of earning sympathy or protection, it signals to others that you are safe to disrespect. Self-respect doesn't mean arrogance or thinking you're better than others. It means treating yourself with the same kindness and consideration you would show a good friend. It means having standards for your behavior and holding yourself accountable when you fall short. Others notice when you respect yourself. They see that you value your time, energy, and well-being. This creates a natural boundary that influences how they approach you. They understand intuitively that certain behaviors won't be tolerated. Respect is earned through consistent self-regard. You teach people how to treat you through how you treat yourself. Lies eventually catch up. Lies eventually catch up means that deception has a built-in expiration date. Truth has a way of surfacing despite your best efforts to bury it. The bigger the lie, the more energy required to maintain it, and the more devastating the consequences when it unravels. Small lies create the need for bigger lies. When someone questions your initial deception, you must construct additional false stories to support the original one. Each new lie increases the complexity of your deceptive web and creates more opportunities for contradictions to emerge. Lies demand constant mental energy. You must remember which version of events you told to which people. You need to monitor conversations to ensure you don't accidentally reveal the truth. You must prepare responses for unexpected questions that might expose your deception. The stress of maintaining lies manifests physically and emotionally. Deceptive people often experience anxiety, guilt, and paranoia. They worry constantly about being discovered. They become suspicious of others' motives and assume everyone else is also lying. Technology has made lies harder to sustain. Digital communications leave permanent records. Security cameras capture contradicting evidence. Social media posts create timestamps that reveal inconsistencies. Information spreads faster and reaches more people than ever before. When lies are exposed, they don't just damage your credibility about the specific deception. They call into question everything else you've ever said. People start wondering what else you've lied about. Trust, once broken, is extremely difficult to rebuild. The truth might be uncomfortable in the short term, but lies create far greater long-term suffering. Honest people sleep better, maintain stronger relationships, and avoid the exhausting work of managing false narratives. Ignorance is expensive. Ignorance is expensive means that lack of knowledge costs you money, opportunities, relationships, and time throughout your entire life. What you don't know hurts you in ways you might never fully recognize or understand. Financial ignorance keeps people trapped in poverty. They don't understand compound interest, so they fail to invest early. They don't know about tax deductions, so they overpay the government. They don't research major purchases, so they waste thousands on poor decisions. They don't understand contracts, so they sign agreements that benefit others at their expense. Professional ignorance limits career advancement. People who don't learn new skills get replaced by those who do. They miss promotions because they lack knowledge their competitors possess. They make costly mistakes that could have been avoided with proper training or research. Social ignorance damages relationships. People who don't understand basic psychology struggle to communicate effectively. They don't recognize manipulation tactics, so they get taken advantage of repeatedly. They don't know how to resolve conflicts, so their relationships deteriorate unnecessarily. Health ignorance shortens lifespans and reduces quality of life. People who don't understand nutrition develop preventable diseases. They don't recognize warning signs of serious conditions, so they delay crucial medical treatment. They don't know about mental health resources, so they suffer needlessly. The cost of ignorance compounds over time. Poor decisions made from lack of knowledge create problems that require expensive solutions later. Prevention is always cheaper than correction, but prevention requires understanding what you're preventing against. Knowledge is the best investment you can make because it pays dividends forever. Learning costs time and effort up front but saves exponentially more resources throughout your lifetime. You can outgrow people you thought were forever. You can outgrow people you thought were forever means understanding that personal growth and changing life circumstances can create distance between you and people who once felt like permanent fixtures in your life, regardless of your history together. This truth challenges assumptions about permanent relationships based on shared experiences and mutual affection. You believe that childhood friends will always understand you because they knew you before you changed. You assume that college relationships will last forever because you grew up together during formative years. You expect family bonds to transcend all differences because blood relationships feel unbreakable. But people develop in different directions at different speeds throughout their lives. Your values, interests, goals, and lifestyle can evolve in ways that no longer align with people who remain in previous mindsets. Someone who was perfect company during your 20s might become incompatible with who you become in your 40s. Educational experiences, career changes, travel, relationships, and personal challenges reshape your perspective in ways that create gaps with people who have not had similar experiences. You might develop interests in philosophy, fitness, or creative pursuits that bore friends who prefer different activities. Your priorities might shift toward family while friends remain focused on social activities. These changes happen gradually and often without conscious awareness until you realize that conversations feel forced and time together no longer provides mutual enjoyment. The person remains the same while you have become someone different, or both of you have changed in incompatible directions. Understanding this reality helps you accept relationship changes as natural rather than feeling guilty about growing apart from people who once meant everything to you. You can appreciate what relationships provided while recognizing when they no longer serve both people effectively. Not everyone matures at the same pace. Not everyone matures at the same pace means understanding that emotional development, responsibility, and wisdom accumulate at different speeds for different people, making it impossible to expect uniform growth even among people of similar age and experience. This reality explains why some relationships become difficult despite starting with compatible people. You develop emotional intelligence through therapy, reading, and life experiences while friends remain reactive and immature in handling conflicts. You learn to take responsibility for mistakes while others continue blaming external circumstances for their problems. Maturity involves multiple dimensions that develop independently. Someone might excel professionally while remaining emotionally childish in relationships. Another person might demonstrate wisdom about life principles while making consistently poor financial decisions. Age alone does not guarantee growth in any particular area. Different life experiences accelerate maturity in different ways. Facing serious illness, losing loved ones, or overcoming major challenges can create rapid emotional development. Meanwhile, people who avoid difficulties or remain in comfortable circumstances might not develop resilience and perspective that comes from surviving hardship. Some individuals actively pursue growth through education, reflection, and conscious effort to improve themselves. Others resist change and prefer familiar patterns even when they create problems. This creates widening gaps between people who started at similar maturity levels. Understanding these differences helps you adjust expectations about what different people can provide in relationships. You stop expecting immature individuals to respond with wisdom they have not yet developed. You appreciate when someone demonstrates growth while accepting their current limitations. The knowledge also promotes patience with your own development process rather than comparing your growth rate to others or feeling frustrated when progress feels slow in certain areas. Arrogance destroys more than ignorance. Arrogance destroys more than ignorance means understanding that overconfidence in your knowledge and abilities creates more damage than simply lacking information, because arrogant people make harmful decisions while refusing to learn from mistakes or accept guidance. Ignorance is often fixable through education and experience. Someone who lacks knowledge but remains humble and curious can learn quickly when provided with accurate information. They ask questions, seek advice, and adapt their behavior based on new understanding. Their willingness to admit limitations creates opportunities for growth. But arrogance prevents learning because it assumes superior knowledge that needs no improvement. Arrogant people dismiss advice from experts, ignore evidence that contradicts their beliefs, and refuse to consider alternative perspectives. They make confident decisions based on incomplete information while rejecting input from more knowledgeable sources. This overconfidence leads to cascading failures in business, relationships, and personal decisions. Arrogant leaders ignore market research and create products nobody wants. Overconfident investors lose money by dismissing financial experts. Arrogant partners destroy relationships by refusing to acknowledge their role in conflicts or learn better communication skills. Arrogance also alienates other people who might otherwise provide valuable support and information. Nobody enjoys working with someone who acts superior and dismisses their contributions. Talented people avoid collaborating with arrogant individuals, leaving them surrounded by less capable people who reinforce their delusions. Meanwhile, humble ignorance attracts mentorship and support from knowledgeable people who enjoy helping someone eager to learn. Admitting limitations creates opportunities for education and improvement that arrogance automatically rejects. Understanding this truth helps you maintain curiosity and openness to feedback even as you develop expertise in different areas. You can be confident in your abilities while remaining humble about what you still need to learn. Being busy isn't the same as being productive. Being busy isn't the same as being productive means understanding that filling your time with numerous activities does not automatically create meaningful results or progress toward important goals, and can actually prevent focusing on work that matters most. Modern society often equates busyness with importance and productivity. You feel valuable when your schedule is packed with meetings, tasks, and obligations. You assume that working long hours demonstrates dedication and effectiveness. You believe that constant activity proves you are accomplishing significant things. But busy work often involves tasks that provide little actual value toward achieving meaningful goals. Attending unnecessary meetings consumes time without producing decisions. Responding to non-urgent emails immediately interrupts focused work on important projects. Multitasking between various activities reduces quality and efficiency compared to concentrated effort. Productive work focuses on activities that create genuine progress toward specific objectives. This might involve fewer total activities but greater impact from each task completed. Spending 2 focused hours on strategic planning might accomplish more than 8 hours of scattered busy work responding to various requests. Many people stay busy as a way to avoid the discomfort of prioritizing difficult decisions about what really matters. It feels easier to respond to whatever demands immediate attention rather than identifying the most important work and protecting time for concentrated effort on challenging projects. Busyness can also become an addiction that provides constant stimulation and a false sense of importance while preventing the reflection and strategic thinking necessary for determining whether current activities actually serve long-term goals effectively. Understanding this distinction helps you evaluate activities based on their contribution to meaningful outcomes rather than simply their ability to fill available time with motion and activity. A good name takes years to build and seconds to ruin. A good name takes years to build and seconds to ruin means understanding that reputation requires consistent positive behavior over long periods to establish trust and respect, but can be destroyed instantly through a single poor decision or moment of bad judgment. Building a solid reputation happens slowly through accumulated evidence of reliability, competence, and integrity. You demonstrate trustworthiness by keeping promises consistently over years. You earn respect by handling responsibilities professionally across multiple situations. You develop credibility by making good decisions repeatedly in various circumstances. This gradual process creates valuable social capital that opens opportunities and provides support during difficult times. People recommend you for positions because they trust your abilities. Friends offer help during crises because they remember your reliability. Colleagues collaborate willingly because they respect your integrity. But reputation exists as a fragile construction that single incidents can destroy immediately. One moment of poor judgment can overshadow years of exemplary behavior. A financial scandal erases decades of business success. A moment of dishonesty undermines years of trustworthiness. Public embarrassment can destroy carefully built professional credibility instantly. The asymmetry feels unfair because negative events register much more strongly in people's memories than positive ones. Your mistakes become the stories people tell about you while your successes fade into background assumptions that get forgotten quickly. Social media and instant communication amplify this vulnerability by making mistakes permanent and widely visible. Private errors can become public embarrassments within minutes, destroying reputations that took decades to build. Understanding this reality promotes extra caution about decisions and behavior that could affect your reputation while accepting that perfect protection is impossible. You can work to minimize serious risks while building relationships strong enough to survive minor mistakes that inevitably occur. The world doesn't pause for your pain. The world doesn't pause for your pain means understanding that despite your personal struggles and suffering, life continues moving forward around you, and external responsibilities and expectations remain unchanged by your internal emotional state. This harsh reality confronts the natural desire for the world to acknowledge and accommodate your difficulties. When you experience heartbreak, loss, trauma, or depression, you want time to stop so you can process emotions without external pressure. You expect others to understand why you cannot perform normally during crisis periods. But bills continue arriving during grief. Work deadlines persist through personal emergencies. Other people's needs remain urgent despite your emotional unavailability. The economy, traffic, weather, and social demands operate independently of your psychological state. Your pain, while real and important, does not alter how external systems function. This reality feels cruel because it forces you to manage both internal suffering and external obligations simultaneously. You must continue working while processing divorce. You handle family responsibilities during depression. You meet social expectations while grieving losses that feel overwhelming. However, understanding this truth helps you develop resilience and coping strategies rather than expecting the world to change for your convenience. You learn to create private space for processing emotions while maintaining necessary functioning in public roles. You develop systems for managing responsibilities during difficult periods. The knowledge also promotes appreciation for people who do offer support and understanding during your struggles, recognizing their kindness as a gift rather than an obligation. You become more compassionate toward others facing difficulties while managing their own external demands. Accepting this reality helps you focus energy on healing and adaptation rather than fighting against unchangeable circumstances or expecting universal accommodation for personal pain. You can't fix people who don't want to change. You can't fix people who don't want to change means understanding that no amount of love, support, advice, or intervention can transform someone who is not genuinely motivated to alter their harmful behaviors or destructive patterns. This truth challenges the belief that caring deeply about someone gives you the power to heal their problems through persistent effort and unconditional support. You want to save friends from addiction, help family members overcome dysfunction, or convince partners to address relationship issues. You assume that providing enough love and guidance will eventually create the breakthrough they need. But change requires internal motivation that cannot be imposed externally. Someone must genuinely want to be different and be willing to endure the discomfort that transformation demands. They need to admit problems exist and take responsibility for creating solutions rather than expecting others to fix them. Your efforts to help someone who resists change often enable their continued dysfunction by removing natural consequences of their choices. You make excuses for their behavior, provide financial support that prevents them from facing reality, or invest emotional energy that they take for granted while remaining unchanged. This dynamic damages your own well-being while providing no benefit to the person you're trying to help. You become frustrated, exhausted, and resentful when your efforts produce no results. Meanwhile, they continue harmful patterns because your support removes incentives for personal responsibility. Understanding this principle helps you redirect energy from trying to change others toward supporting people who demonstrate genuine commitment to growth. You can offer assistance to those actively working on themselves while establishing healthy boundaries with those who want help without effort. The knowledge also promotes focusing on your own development rather than assuming responsibility for fixing everyone around you. Laziness costs more than effort. Laziness costs more than effort means understanding that avoiding necessary work and responsibilities ultimately creates greater difficulty, expense, and stress than addressing tasks promptly when they first require attention. Laziness feels appealing because it provides immediate comfort and avoids temporary discomfort of demanding tasks. You postpone cleaning until your home becomes chaotic. You avoid exercise until health problems develop. You delay important conversations until relationships suffer serious damage. You procrastinate on financial planning until crisis forces emergency decisions. But delayed action typically requires much more effort than prompt response would have demanded. Cleaning a severely neglected home takes days instead of the minutes that regular maintenance would require. Recovering from health problems demands more time and money than prevention would have cost. Repairing damaged relationships requires more emotional energy than maintaining good ones through ongoing communication. Procrastination also eliminates options and creates urgency that makes everything more stressful and expensive. Last-minute travel costs more than advance planning. Emergency repairs are more expensive than scheduled maintenance. Rushed decisions often produce poor outcomes that require additional correction later. The compound effect means that small amounts of consistent effort prevent large amounts of crisis management later. Daily exercise is easier than recovering from heart disease. Regular relationship maintenance is simpler than marriage counseling. Consistent work habits are less stressful than deadline panic. Understanding this principle helps you overcome natural resistance to effort by recognizing that lazy choices create much more work eventually. You can motivate yourself to handle tasks promptly by calculating the true cost of procrastination rather than just considering immediate comfort. The knowledge also helps you appreciate the long-term benefits of disciplined behavior even when it feels difficult in the moment. Envy poisons your own progress. Envy poisons your own progress means understanding that focusing on others' advantages and achievements drains mental energy and motivation that could be directed toward your own improvement and goal achievement. Envy operates as a destructive emotion that consumes attention without producing any positive outcomes. You waste time comparing your circumstances to others' apparent success instead of working on your own development. You feel bitter about others' opportunities while missing chances to create your own. You focus on what others have rather than appreciating what you possess. This mental fixation prevents recognizing and pursuing your own opportunities because you remain distracted by resentment about others' advantages. Instead of learning from successful people or finding ways to collaborate with them, you view them as competition that threatens your self-worth. Envy also creates victim mentality that reduces personal responsibility for your outcomes. You blame others' success for your lack of progress rather than examining how your own choices and efforts contribute to current results. You assume their advantages explain everything while ignoring your own unused potential. The emotion becomes self-fulfilling prophecy because envious attitudes repel the very people who might offer mentorship, collaboration, or support. Successful individuals avoid bitter people who resent their achievements. Opportunities flow toward those who celebrate others' success rather than those who feel threatened by it. Meanwhile, people who genuinely support others' achievements often receive reciprocal help and encouragement. They build networks with successful individuals who remember their positive attitudes and offer assistance when possible. Understanding this dynamic helps you redirect envious feelings toward motivation for personal improvement rather than resentment toward others. You can use others' success as inspiration for what might be possible rather than evidence of unfairness in your own situation. Comfort is addictive. Comfort is addictive means understanding that once you become accustomed to easy, safe, and pleasant conditions, you develop strong resistance to any activities or changes that require effort, risk, or temporary discomfort. Comfort operates like a drug that feels good initially but creates dependency over time. You enjoy the ease of familiar routines, predictable outcomes, and minimal challenges. This pleasant state makes you want to avoid anything that might disrupt your peaceful existence or require effort that feels unpleasant. But comfort addiction prevents growth and achievement because all meaningful progress requires leaving familiar territory. Starting a business involves financial risk and uncertain outcomes. Building relationships demands vulnerability and potential rejection. Developing skills requires practicing activities that feel difficult and frustrating initially. The longer you remain in comfortable conditions, the more frightening and impossible any change appears. Your tolerance for discomfort decreases through lack of practice. Challenges that once seemed manageable become overwhelming obstacles. Your confidence in handling difficulties erodes because you avoid situations that test your capabilities. Comfort addiction also creates stagnation in every area of life. Your career plateaus because advancement requires additional responsibility and stress. Your relationships become shallow because deeper connection demands difficult conversations. Your health declines because fitness requires uncomfortable exercise and dietary discipline. Meanwhile, people who regularly choose discomfort over ease develop resilience and capability that expands their options continuously. They build confidence through surviving challenges. They create opportunities through taking calculated risks. They achieve goals through sustained effort despite temporary unpleasantness. Understanding comfort's addictive nature helps you recognize when security becomes a prison rather than a refuge. You can choose calculated discomfort as investment in future capabilities rather than always selecting the easiest available option. Most people fake confidence. Most people fake confidence means understanding that the self-assured appearance others project publicly often masks the same insecurities, doubts, and fears that you experience privately, making confident behavior a learned performance rather than a natural state. This truth challenges the assumption that confident people feel genuinely secure and self-assured internally. You observe others speaking assertively, making decisions boldly, and appearing comfortable in social situations while you struggle with anxiety and uncertainty. You assume they possess inner strength that you lack. But most apparent confidence represents learned behaviors and practiced responses rather than authentic feelings of security. People study body language, rehearse conversations, and develop strategies for appearing competent even when they feel uncertain. They learn to speak with authority about subjects they understand incompletely. Social media amplifies this illusion by allowing people to present carefully curated versions of themselves that hide struggles and uncertainties. Everyone shares their successes while concealing their failures and doubts. This creates false impressions that others live with ease and certainty while you alone face confusion and insecurity. Understanding this reality reduces social anxiety and self-criticism that comes from comparing your internal experience to others' external presentations. You realize that feeling uncertain while appearing confident is normal human behavior rather than personal inadequacy. The knowledge also helps you develop your own confident behaviors without waiting to feel completely secure internally. You can practice assertive communication, take calculated risks, and present yourself professionally while still experiencing normal doubts and concerns. This perspective promotes compassion for others who seem intimidating or superior, recognizing that they likely struggle with similar insecurities despite their polished appearances. Everyone performs confidence to some degree while managing private uncertainties about their capabilities and decisions. Being right doesn't mean you'll win. Being right doesn't mean you'll win means understanding that having accurate information, logical arguments, or moral authority does not guarantee favorable outcomes in conflicts, negotiations, or competitive situations where other factors determine results. This truth contradicts the belief that truth and justice naturally prevail over falsehood and unfairness. You assume that presenting correct facts and sound reasoning will convince others to support your position. You expect that being morally right will protect you from negative consequences or unfair treatment. But many outcomes depend on factors unrelated to accuracy or righteousness. Political power, financial resources, social connections, timing, and persuasive ability often matter more than factual correctness. People with wrong information but superior presentation skills frequently defeat those with accurate data but poor communication abilities. Emotional appeals can override logical arguments even when the emotions are based on misinformation. People make decisions based on feelings, loyalty, and self-interest rather than objective analysis of evidence. They support positions that benefit them personally regardless of broader truth or fairness. Legal systems, workplace conflicts, and relationship disputes demonstrate this principle regularly. Innocent people lose court cases to guilty parties with better lawyers. Qualified employees lose promotions to less competent candidates with stronger networks. Honest partners lose relationships to manipulative individuals who provide more excitement. Understanding this reality helps you prepare more effectively for situations where being right alone is insufficient. You can develop persuasion skills, build supportive relationships, and choose battles where you have advantages beyond just factual accuracy. The knowledge also prevents devastating disappointment when truth fails to triumph automatically. You can maintain your integrity while accepting that rightness requires additional support to achieve desired outcomes in competitive environments. People lie often. People lie often means understanding that deception is a common part of human communication, ranging from small social lies to protect feelings to significant deceptions that serve personal interests, making skepticism and verification important life skills. This truth challenges the assumption that most people are fundamentally honest and that you should accept statements at face value. You want to believe that friends tell you the truth about their feelings and experiences. You expect that romantic partners share accurate information about their past and current activities. You assume that colleagues and business associates provide honest assessments and reliable commitments. But people lie for various reasons that often seem justified to them. They lie to avoid hurting feelings, escape consequences, maintain privacy, gain advantages, or protect relationships. Some lies are small social courtesies while others involve serious deceptions about important matters. The lies range from harmless social lubrication to damaging betrayals of trust. People say they like gifts they actually hate. They claim to be busy when they simply do not want to participate in activities. They exaggerate their accomplishments and minimize their failures. They promise things they have no intention of delivering. Everyone lies sometimes, including you, which makes detecting deception difficult because you understand how easy it is to rationalize dishonesty when it serves your purposes. The universal nature of lying means that some of the information you receive regularly is inaccurate or incomplete. Understanding this reality helps you verify important information rather than accepting all statements automatically. You can maintain relationships while recognizing that people sometimes provide misleading information for their own reasons. The knowledge also promotes honesty in your own communication while understanding why others might choose deception in certain situations. You develop skills for distinguishing between harmless social lies and serious deceptions that affect important decisions. Potential means nothing without execution. Potential means nothing without execution means understanding that natural abilities, good ideas, and promising plans create no value until translated into consistent action that produces measurable results in the real world. This truth challenges the comfort people find in possessing and use talents and unrealized possibilities. You feel good about having potential for success in various areas without taking the difficult steps necessary to develop that potential into actual achievement. You identify as someone with great ideas who could accomplish amazing things if circumstances were different. But the world rewards results rather than possibilities. Your intelligence means nothing if you never apply it to solve actual problems. Your creativity provides no value if you never create anything that others experience. Your business ideas remain worthless if you never start companies or develop products. Potential without execution often becomes an excuse for avoiding the risk and effort that achievement requires. You protect your self-image by maintaining that you could succeed if you tried rather than discovering whether your abilities actually translate into accomplishments. This preserves the fantasy of guaranteed success while avoiding potential failure. Meanwhile, people with less natural talent often achieve more through consistent execution and persistent effort. They turn modest abilities into significant accomplishments through disciplined work over time. Their executed mediocrity produces more value than unexpressed brilliance. Markets, employers, and communities pay for delivered value rather than theoretical capability. Your potential means nothing to people who need actual solutions to real problems. They judge you based on what you have accomplished rather than what you might be capable of achieving someday. Understanding this principle helps you focus energy on taking action rather than admiring your own possibilities. You can appreciate your potential while recognizing that it becomes meaningful only through sustained effort toward specific goals. Blaming others keeps you stuck. Blaming others keeps you stuck means understanding that focusing on how other people caused your problems prevents you from taking the actions necessary to improve your situation and move forward with your life. This truth confronts the natural tendency to assign responsibility for your difficulties to external factors beyond your control. You blame parents for your emotional problems, employers for your career stagnation, partners for relationship issues, and society for your financial struggles. These explanations often contain some validity but create psychological traps. Blaming shifts attention away from examining your own contributions to problems and identifying actions you could take to create different outcomes. Instead of asking what you might do differently, you focus on what others should have done better. This mental fixation prevents learning and growth. Even when others genuinely caused significant damage, continued blame does not undo their actions or force them to provide solutions. Your parents cannot go back and give you a better childhood. Former employers cannot retroactively provide different opportunities. Ex-partners cannot repair damage they caused to your trust and self-esteem. Meanwhile, accepting responsibility for your current situation, regardless of how you arrived there, opens possibilities for improvement. You can address emotional issues through therapy regardless of their origin. You can develop career skills regardless of previous missed opportunities. You can learn relationship skills regardless of past experiences. Blame also creates victim identity that becomes self-reinforcing. You attract situations that confirm your powerlessness rather than seeking opportunities for empowerment. You remain focused on past injuries rather than present possibilities. Understanding this dynamic helps you distinguish between acknowledging how others contributed to problems and using that acknowledgement productively versus getting trapped in resentment that prevents progress towards solutions you can actually control. You'll never have enough time for everything. You'll never have enough time for everything means understanding that human life contains infinite possibilities and demands but finite hours, forcing you to make difficult choices about what deserves your attention while accepting that many worthwhile activities will remain unexplored. This reality contradicts the modern illusion that efficient time management can somehow allow you to accomplish everything you want. You believe that better planning, productivity systems, or working harder will eventually create space for all your interests, relationships, and goals. You feel frustrated when days pass without progress on important projects. But 24 hours per day is a fixed constraint that cannot be expanded regardless of your desires or needs. Every choice to spend time on one activity automatically eliminates time for everything else happening simultaneously. Reading a book means not exercising. Working late means missing family time. Pursuing one hobby means neglecting others. The scarcity becomes more acute as responsibilities accumulate with age. Career demands increase. Family obligations multiply. Health maintenance requires more attention. Social relationships need ongoing investment. Personal interests compete for shrinking available time. Attempting to do everything leads to doing nothing well. You spread energy so thinly across multiple priorities that none receives adequate attention for meaningful progress. You feel constantly behind and overwhelmed while making little real advancement in any area. Understanding time limitations helps you make intentional choices about priorities rather than hoping to eventually fit everything into your schedule. You can choose depth over breadth in selected areas while accepting that other possibilities will remain unexplored. This knowledge also promotes appreciation for time spent on chosen activities rather than constant regret about missed opportunities. You recognize that saying no to good options is necessary to say yes to better ones. Success comes with sacrifices you may not like. Success comes with sacrifices you may not like means understanding that achieving meaningful goals requires giving up things you value, and the cost of accomplishment often involves losses that feel more painful than you anticipated when setting ambitious targets. This truth challenges romantic notions about success that focus only on rewards while ignoring the price required to achieve them. You imagine that reaching your goals will provide satisfaction without significant downsides. You expect that hard work will eventually allow you to have everything you want simultaneously. But every path toward achievement demands trade-offs that eliminate other possibilities. Building a successful business often requires sacrificing time with family and friends. Achieving physical fitness demands giving up foods you enjoy and comfortable sedentary habits. Developing expertise in any field means not developing skills in other areas. The sacrifices often involve things you did not expect to miss when you started pursuing goals. Career advancement might require moving away from loved ones. Financial success could demand working in industries that do not align with your values. Artistic achievement might necessitate living with financial insecurity for years. Some costs become apparent only after you have invested significant effort and cannot easily change direction. The relationships that suffered during your focused pursuit of goals cannot be easily repaired later. The health problems that develop from stress and overwork persist even after achieving success. Understanding this reality helps you make informed decisions about which goals justify their required sacrifices rather than pursuing achievements blindly. You can evaluate whether you are willing to pay the actual price rather than the imagined price of success. This knowledge also prevents disappointment when accomplishments feel hollow due to what you gave up to achieve them. You can choose goals whose costs seem worthwhile rather than assuming all success provides net positive outcomes. Some relationships expire no matter what you do. Some relationships expire no matter what you do means understanding that certain connections have natural lifespans that end regardless of your effort to maintain them, because people change in incompatible ways or circumstances create insurmountable distance. This truth contradicts the belief that love and commitment can overcome any obstacle to preserve important relationships. You assume that caring deeply about someone gives you the power to maintain connection indefinitely. You believe that working harder on communication and understanding will prevent relationships from ending. But some relationship endings result from factors beyond anyone's control rather than insufficient effort or care. People grow in different directions that create fundamental incompatibilities. Life circumstances separate individuals physically or emotionally in ways that cannot be bridged. Death, illness, or other unavoidable events end connections permanently. Even mutual love and respect cannot always overcome these natural forces. Childhood friends develop completely different values as adults. Romantic partners want incompatible futures despite caring for each other. Family members become estranged due to choices that seem necessary to each person but damage the relationship irreparably. Attempting to force continuation of expired relationships often creates more pain than accepting natural endings. You exhaust yourself trying to revive connections that have run their course. You sacrifice other opportunities while clinging to relationships that no longer serve either person effectively. Understanding this reality helps you recognize when relationships have reached natural conclusions rather than fighting against inevitable endings. You can appreciate what connections provided while they lasted without feeling responsible for preventing all relationship losses. This knowledge also promotes investing energy in relationships that remain vital and promising rather than pouring effort into connections that have already ended emotionally despite continuing contact. What you tolerate is what you'll continue to get. What you tolerate is what you'll continue to get means understanding that accepting poor treatment, mediocre results, or unsatisfactory conditions teaches others that these standards are acceptable to you, ensuring that improvements will not occur without changing your boundaries. This truth reveals how your responses to situations determine their continuation or change. When you accept late deliveries from suppliers without consequences, they learn that punctuality is not required. When you tolerate disrespectful behavior from friends without addressing it, they assume such treatment is acceptable to you. People generally provide the minimum effort necessary to maintain relationships and arrangements. If you accept poor service, incomplete work, or thoughtless behavior without complaint, they have no incentive to improve their performance. Your tolerance becomes permission for continued inadequacy. This dynamic applies to all areas of life including work, relationships, and personal standards. Employers continue underpaying employees who accept low wages without negotiating. Partners repeat harmful behaviors when there are no meaningful consequences. Service providers deliver poor quality when customers pay without complaints. Meanwhile, people who establish clear expectations and enforce boundaries consistently receive better treatment because others learn what is required to maintain positive relationships with them. They demonstrate that substandard performance will result in lost business, ended relationships, or other consequences. Understanding this principle helps you examine what you are currently tolerating that you would prefer to change. You can identify areas where raising your standards and enforcing boundaries would likely improve outcomes. The knowledge also explains why some people seem to attract better treatment than others. They communicate and enforce higher expectations rather than accepting whatever others offer by default. People project their insecurities onto you. People project their insecurities onto you means understanding that others often attribute their own fears, flaws, and negative traits to you as a psychological defense mechanism that protects their self-image by externalizing internal conflicts. This truth explains many confusing interactions where people accuse you of behaviors or motivations that seem unrelated to your actual actions. Someone calls you arrogant when you express confidence because they feel insecure about their own abilities. Others accuse you of being selfish when you set boundaries because they struggle with their own guilt about saying no. Projection allows people to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about themselves by locating those same issues in others. Someone who lies frequently becomes suspicious of everyone else's honesty. People who harbor secret resentments assume others are plotting against them. Those who feel inadequate often criticize others' competence. These projections reveal more about the person making accusations than about their target. When someone consistently points out specific flaws in others, they are often describing their own deepest concerns about themselves. Their criticism provides insight into their internal struggles rather than accurate assessment of your character. Understanding projection helps you avoid taking others' negative assessments personally when they reflect the critic's issues rather than your actual behavior. You can recognize when someone's reaction seems disproportionate to the situation because it involves their psychological baggage rather than your actions. This knowledge also promotes self-awareness about your own tendency to project internal conflicts onto others. You can examine whether your strong reactions to certain behaviors in others might reveal your own insecurities or denied traits. The perspective creates compassion for people whose critical behavior often masks their own pain and self-doubt rather than representing genuine assessment of your flaws. The world doesn't slow down when you're tired. The world doesn't slow down when you're tired means understanding that external demands, deadlines, and responsibilities continue at their normal pace regardless of your energy levels, emotional state, or personal capacity to handle them effectively. This reality confronts the natural desire for circumstances to adjust to your internal condition. When you feel exhausted from overwork, emotional stress, or life challenges, you want deadlines to extend automatically. You hope that others will reduce their expectations and give you time to recover before resuming normal performance levels. But bills arrive on schedule whether you feel ready to pay them or not. Work projects maintain their deadlines regardless of your sleep deprivation or personal problems. Children need care and attention even when you feel emotionally drained. Social obligations continue despite your desire to withdraw and rest. The mismatch between your internal experience and external demands creates additional stress when you are already struggling. You must find ways to meet responsibilities while operating below your optimal capacity. This compounds exhaustion and can lead to feeling overwhelmed by normally manageable tasks. Understanding this truth helps you develop strategies for functioning during difficult periods rather than expecting the world to pause for your recovery. You can learn to maintain essential responsibilities while temporarily reducing non-critical activities. You build resilience through practicing performance under less than ideal conditions. This knowledge also promotes better self-care and energy management before reaching complete exhaustion. You recognize that preventing burnout is more effective than hoping external circumstances will accommodate your depletion. The awareness helps you appreciate times when people do offer flexibility and understanding during your struggles, recognizing their kindness as a gift rather than an automatic entitlement when you feel tired or overwhelmed. Being alone is better than being with the wrong people. Being alone is better than being with the wrong people means understanding that solitude, while sometimes lonely, provides greater peace and personal growth than maintaining relationships with individuals who drain your energy, compromise your values, or treat you poorly. This truth challenges the social pressure to maintain connections regardless of their quality and the fear of loneliness that drives people to accept inadequate relationships. You believe that any company is better than being alone. You tolerate toxic friends, manipulative partners, or unsupportive family members because isolation feels frightening. But wrong relationships create more suffering than solitude. Toxic people drain your emotional energy through constant drama and negativity. Manipulative individuals erode your self-trust and decision-making confidence. Unsupportive relationships leave you feeling more isolated than actual aloneness because you lack genuine connection despite physical presence. Being with wrong people also prevents you from meeting right people because your time and energy are consumed by managing difficult relationships. You miss opportunities for meaningful connections while trying to fix fundamentally incompatible situations. Solitude offers benefits that poor relationships cannot provide. Alone time allows self-reflection and personal growth without external pressure to conform to others' expectations. You can pursue interests without judgment and make decisions based purely on your own values and preferences. Quality solitude also prepares you to recognize and attract healthier relationships by helping you understand what you actually want and need from others rather than accepting whatever is available out of desperation. Understanding this principle helps you evaluate current relationships honestly and choose solitude over settling for connections that diminish rather than enhance your well-being. You can develop comfort with being alone while maintaining standards for future relationships. Trust takes years to build and seconds to lose. Trust takes years to build and seconds to lose means understanding that confidence in someone's reliability requires consistent positive behavior over long periods, but can be destroyed instantly through a single act of betrayal or deception. This reality reflects how human psychology processes relationship information for survival purposes. Your brain accumulates evidence of someone's trustworthiness slowly through repeated experiences of them keeping promises, telling truth, and acting in your best interest. Each positive interaction adds small increments to your overall confidence in their character. But betrayal registers as an emergency signal that overrides all previous positive evidence. One lie can make you question everything they have ever told you. One broken promise can eliminate confidence in their future commitments. One act of betrayal can destroy years of carefully built faith in their loyalty and integrity. This asymmetry feels unfair to people who make occasional mistakes after years of reliable behavior. They expect their good track record to provide protection against harsh judgment for isolated failures. They want others to weigh their overall pattern of trustworthiness against single incidents of poor judgment. However, trust serves a protective function that requires erring on the side of caution. Your brain cannot afford to ignore danger signals even when they contradict years of positive experience. The person who has been trustworthy for 5 years but lies once might lie again when stakes are higher. Understanding this dynamic helps you recognize the precious nature of others' trust and take extra care to protect it through consistent reliable behavior. You understand that maintaining trust requires ongoing attention rather than assuming past performance guarantees future confidence. The knowledge also helps you be more forgiving of others who lose trust in you after mistakes while working patiently to rebuild confidence through sustained trustworthy actions over time. Not everyone deserves your loyalty. Not everyone deserves your loyalty means understanding that faithful commitment and support should be earned through reciprocal behavior and mutual respect rather than given automatically to anyone who requests it or expects it based on history alone. This truth challenges cultural messages about unconditional loyalty to family, friends, employers, or communities regardless of how they treat you. You feel obligated to remain faithful to people who have known you for long periods even when they consistently act against your interests. You believe that loyalty should flow automatically to anyone who holds certain roles in your life. But loyalty without reciprocity becomes one-sided exploitation that benefits others while harming you. People who demand your faithfulness while showing none in return are using your commitment to their advantage. They expect your support during their difficulties while providing none during yours. Some individuals actively betray your trust, spread harmful information about you, or work against your interests while expecting continued loyalty because of past connections. They assume that family bonds, old friendships, or professional relationships entitle them to ongoing support regardless of their current behavior. Meanwhile, truly deserving people demonstrate mutual loyalty through their actions over time. They support you during difficulties, protect your interests when you are not present, and show consideration for your well-being in their decisions. They earn continued faithfulness through reciprocal commitment. Understanding this principle helps you evaluate relationships based on current patterns rather than historical connections or assumed obligations. You can direct your loyalty toward people who demonstrate genuine care and reciprocal commitment while establishing boundaries with those who take your faithfulness for granted. This knowledge also prevents guilt about ending loyalty to people who have proven themselves unworthy through consistent selfish or harmful behavior despite your past investment in the relationship. Life doesn't give warnings before it changes. Life doesn't give warnings before it changes means understanding that major shifts in circumstances, relationships, health, or opportunities often occur suddenly without advance notice, making adaptability more valuable than detailed planning for specific scenarios. This truth contradicts the human desire for predictability and control over future events. You want to receive signals before important changes occur so you can prepare mentally and practically for new circumstances. You expect gradual transitions that allow time to adjust rather than sudden disruptions to established patterns. But many life changes happen instantly without any preparation time. Medical emergencies strike healthy people without warning signs. Relationships end abruptly after seeming stable for years. Job losses occur due to economic shifts that were impossible to predict. Natural disasters destroy homes and communities within hours. Even positive changes often arrive unexpectedly. Opportunities appear suddenly and require immediate decisions. Chance encounters lead to important relationships or career breaks. Creative breakthroughs happen without advanced scheduling. Investments succeed due to unpredictable market movements. The unpredictability means that rigid planning for specific outcomes often proves useless when actual changes differ completely from anticipated scenarios. Meanwhile, general preparedness and adaptability serve you better than detailed contingency plans for imagined futures. Understanding this reality helps you develop resilience and flexibility rather than attempting to control or predict all possible changes. You can build general capabilities and resources that serve you regardless of what specific changes occur. This knowledge also promotes appreciating current stability while it lasts rather than taking present circumstances for granted. You recognize that today's situation, whether positive or negative, could change dramatically without notice. The awareness helps you respond to unexpected changes with acceptance rather than shock when life fails to provide advance warning before major transitions.